Chapter 65. He. When Cheng Menjing mentioned Xiao Chen, she felt a little helpless in her heart. But on the surface, she naturally couldn't show her concern for Xiao Chen. If it was only Shen Jingxian, it would be fine. But now there was an outsider like Chen Jingquan. She naturally said with a cold face, "It seems that he went to sell breakfast." Sell breakfast? Shen Jingxian was slightly stunned, and Chen Jingquan was also stunned. Why did Xiao Chen go to sell breakfast? Oh, it's good enough to keep him here. Don't expect me to give him money. If he wants to live, he should earn his own money. Cheng Menjing said coldly, but a useless young master like him has no ability, so he can only sell breakfast. Shen Jingxian naturally knew that Cheng Menjing was not such a cold-blooded person. She probably had other reasons for saying this, but now because Chen Jingquan was on the side, she couldn't say it clearly. But she still said, "That Xiao Chen is really pitiful. Menjing, although he was not very good before and always made you angry, now he is down and out. We can't just ignore him, right?" Shen Jingxuan's character was like this. No one would think that it was inappropriate for her to say such words, especially Chen Jingquan. After listening to Shen Jingxuan's words, he had a plan in his mind. He smiled calmly and said, "In this case, I think it's better for us to go to the place where he sells breakfast and visit him. Eating some of his breakfast can be considered as helping him." Chen Jingquan's real purpose was to humiliate Xiao Chen. He also wanted to let Shen Jingxian see that this kind of trash was not worthy of pursuing her. Of course, Chen Jingquan didn't think that Shen Jingxian would fall in love with Xiao Chen, but he was a narrow-minded person who liked to be jealous. Shen Jingxian naturally knew what kind of person Chen Jingquan was. They had known each other for a long time. Although they didn't have a clear relationship before, Shen Jingxian still paid close attention to Chen Jingquan, who was likely to have a marriage alliance. So when she was about to refuse, Cheng Menjing said, "That's fine. I want to see Xiao Chen's miserable look. Humph humph humph." In fact, she didn't know what was really on her mind. She wanted to know what Xiao Chen's life was like now. She wanted to see how he and Tang Tang sold breakfast every day. Just now, Chen Jingquan was afraid that no one would support him if he humiliated Xiao Chen. Now, seeing Cheng Menjing's attitude, he was immediately relieved. At that time, even if Shen Jingxian was unhappy, he could say that he did it to please her bestie. The three of them went out of the villa together. Chen Jingquan's silver Bugatti Veyron was a two-seater sports car, which could only take 2 people. But Miss Tang didn't have a car, which made Chen Jingquan a little embarrassed. "Oh, Jingxian, how about you and Cheng Menjing drive and I take a taxi?" When he was in a dilemma, a beetle stopped in front of the villa. It was Jean Beibe's car. "Cousin Menjing, aren't you going to buy a car today?" Jean Beibe opened the window and shouted to Cheng Menjing, "Sister Jingxian, you're here too." "Oh, it's Beibe." Shen Jingxian knew Jean Beibe too. She greeted her. Chen Jingquan's face slightly changed. He had heard a thing or two about Jean Beibe and was unwilling to have anything to do with her. He simply greeted her politely, "Miss Jean, you're here." Jean Beibe looked at Chen Jingquan and obviously did not want to talk to him. She turned to Cheng Menjing and asked her what was going on. "Jingxian, I happen to be in Beibe's car. Why don't you go first?" Cheng Menjing said to Jean Beibe. "All right." Shen Jingxian nodded and got into Chen Jingquan's car. Cheng Menjing opened the door of the beetle and sat down next to Jean Beibe. The 2 cars started slowly and went to the morning street one after the other. "Cousin Menjing, where are you going?" Jean Beibe was still confused. She only knew that she was following Chen Jingquan, but she did not know where they were going. "Jingxian and Chen Jingquan are going to visit Xiao Chen." As she spoke, Cheng Menjing repeated their conversation to Jean Beibe. Then she reminded her, "Beibe, don't call out to Xiao Chen later. If other people know that we are close to Xiao Chen, my family will certainly be unhappy. So, don't worry, Cousin Menjing. I'm not stupid. I can just call my cousin-in-law at home. Rest assured. I won't tell anyone your secret." Jean Beibe patted her chest and said, What secret do I have? What secret do I have?" Cheng Menjing was immediately annoyed, but she did not dare to refute her, fearing that Jean Beibe would say something inappropriate again if she did. The 2 cars stopped on the morning market street one after the other. Jean Beibe's beetle was not eye-catching. After all, a car worth about 300,000 yuan was not really a luxury car nowadays. However, Chen Jingquan's Bugatti Veyron was a bit cool and eye-catching. The morning street was full of hawkers. Although some cars were parked on the roadside and their drivers got out to buy breakfast, it was the first time that they had seen such a luxurious car. When they were guessing what they were going to do, they did not expect that the 4 of them would get out of their cars and walk straight to Xiao Chen's and Tang Tang's breakfast stall. The other hawkers could not help but exclaim, "Are the deep-fried dough sticks so good? Even a second-generation rich kid driving a sports car came here because of its fame?" Of course, Xiao Chen also saw Chen Jingquan and his companions. He frowned, not expecting that the eldest lady Jin Beibei and Xin Jingxian would also come here. What are they doing here? Are they here to make fun of me? If it were before, Xiao Chen would definitely think so. However, after knowing the eldest lady's character, he knew that the eldest lady was definitely not a superficial person. Therefore he decided to wait and see. Xiao Chen ignored them and continued to cook deep-fried dough sticks in the pan skillfully. Although Tang Tang also saw Qing Minjing and her companions, she did not know what they were here for. Since Xiao Chen did not say anything, she naturally continued to sell the deep-fried dough sticks. However, the appearance of Xin Jingxian made Xiao Chen's heart slightly tremble. This is the girl that I used to like a little bit. She has a gentle personality and a warm smile. She is the first goddess in the hearts of all the boys in the school. However, things had changed with the passage of time. Xiao Chen also knew his place. Therefore, he hid these thoughts in the bottom of his heart and did not even look at her at this moment. Haha, isn't this Xiao Chen? In the past, I really couldn't tell that you, Xiao Chen, were a person with a hidden talent. You have consummate skills and a divine technique to protect your body. This fried dough stick is simply better than a 5-star hotel. Chen Jingquan's words sounded like he was praising Xiao Chen, but in fact, he was mocking Xiao Chen. How could Xiao Chen not know that? A touch of anger appeared on Xiao Chen's face. His hands were trembling, and he almost raised the pan of oil and splashed it on Chen Jingquan's face. Of course he was pretending. To be honest, he did not put Chen Jingquan in his eyes at all. Although the Chen family's people were detestable, they were still much easier to deal with than those people hiding behind the scenes who wanted to kill Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen was only maintaining his previous personality. If people knew that he was so calm even though he was in such dire straits, who would believe that there was no reason for it? Xiao Chen did not want to expose the fact that he was a cultivator prematurely. Thank you for the compliment. Xiao Chen took a deep breath and seemed to calm down, but the next words were a little explosive. If you want to buy it, line up at the back. If you don't want to buy it, don't stand here and get in the way. Xiao Chen's action made Chen Jingquan secretly happy. If it were the previous Xiao Chen, he would definitely explode, but now he could only swallow his anger. He could only use line up to fight back. However, did he need to line up? Chen Jingquan directly took out 500 yuan bills from his pocket and shook them in front of Xiao Chen. He said, "Give me 4 sets of soybean milk and fried dough sticks. Line up at the back." Xiao Chen said coldly, "Yeah, how can you cut the line? We have been waiting in line for a long time. Is there anyone like you?" When Xiao Chen said this, the customers who were waiting in line at the back suddenly became unhappy. "I bought it at a high price. What's wrong with cutting the line? If you have the ability, why don't you spend it too? If you spend 1,000 yuan, I will definitely let you buy it first. How about it? If you don't have money, shut up." Chen Jingquan came to humiliate Xiao Chen, so he naturally wouldn't let it go. However, Xiao Chen didn't seem to have any special coveting for the 500 yuan in his hand. Xiao Chen was already in such a poor state. How could he not be tempted? He was pretending. He was definitely pretending. Chen Jingquan felt that Xiao Chen's face as a young master must have flared up again. He was embarrassed to accept his charity, so he increased his strength. 1,000 yuan. Give me 4 sets. Hurry up. Line up at the back. Xiao Chen still said without raising his head. Xiao Chen, don't be so shameless. Who do you think you are? If it weren't for Minjing's face, would I come here to eat? Chen Jingquan's face was a little embarrassed. He came to humiliate Xiao Chen, but he was humiliated by Xiao Chen, a person who sold breakfast. In his opinion, he took out money to give to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen should greet him with a smile and bow to him. Wasn't he short of money? Impossible. If he wasn't short of money, he would sell his breakfast hammer. 5,000 yuan. Consider it as a reward from me. Sir, how many fried dough sticks do you want? Although Tang Tang was stunned by Chen Jingquan's nouveau riche behavior, Xiao Chen made it clear that he didn't want the money. Tang Tang naturally wouldn't accept it. She directly passed Chen Jingquan and asked the old man behind him. "Give me 10 yuan. The old man handed over a 10 yuan bill and said to Tang Tang. "Okay." Tang Tang nodded and began to weigh it skillfully. Chen Jingquan's face was gloomy and terrible at this moment. He couldn't directly beat Xiao Chen in front of Xin Jingxian. After all, he said that he was here to support Xiao Chen. It wasn't right to beat Xiao Chen. Therefore, Tang Tang became the target of his venting. "B****, didn't you hear me?" Chen Jingquan was burning with anger. He threw a stack of bills directly on Tang Tang's face, making a crisp sound. Hurry up and give me 4 sets of fried dough sticks and soy milk. Chapter 66. You. Tang Tang didn't expect that Qin Jinping would do it directly. She was stunned for a while. Originally, Xiao Qin had been pretending to be a very angry young master. But at this moment, Xiao Qin really couldn't bear it. The banknote hitting Tang Tang's face was like hitting Xiao Qin's heart. He didn't care whether he offended the Qin family or not. Anyway, he had offended several families. One more Qin family wouldn't make a difference. Xiao Qin raised the boiling pan of fried dough sticks and was about to put it on Qin Jinkuan's head. Tang Tang didn't expect that Xiao Qin would make such a drastic move. She knew Qin Jinkuan. She knew that if Xiao Qin really poured the pan of oil on Qin Jinkuan's head, even if Qin Jinkuan was a warrior at the 3rd level of internal force, he would be scalded. He would definitely be disfigured. So Tang Tang was anxious and quickly hugged Xiao Qin from behind. Xiao Qin, don't be impulsive. Qin Jinkuan was also shocked. He didn't expect that Xiao Qin would dare to do this. Originally, he thought that Xiao Qin would always be a teenage mutant ninja turtle. A wise man knows when to retreat. Although he was very angry at this moment, he still took advantage of Tang Tang's buffer to quickly leave the fried dough stick stall. Hoo! Xiao Qin put down the pan of oil and spat out a mouthful of foul air. Although he was impulsive at that moment, he had calmed down at this moment. There were many ways to deal with Qin Jinkuan. There was no need to give him a handle in front of others. Xiao Qin, what are you going to do? It's a lot of money and we even earned it. It's no big deal. Tang Tang was the one who was wronged, but it was Tang Tang who persuaded Xiao Qin instead. Not far away, Qing Minjing and Xin Jingxian were also at a loss. They didn't expect that such a thing would happen. Of course, they also understood that Qin Jinkuan's approach was indeed a bit too much. Of course, Qing Minjing still felt a little uncomfortable in her heart. What did Xiao Qin mean by this? Was he angry because of a beauty? First it was Lin, then it was Xin Jingxian, and now it was Tang Tang. Was she that bad? Why didn't he get angry for her? In any case, she was his ex-fiancée, right? Jean Beibei, on the other hand, looked at Xiao Qin with interest and seemed to be deep in thought. Xiao Qin, you're really something. I'm here to support you out of goodwill and give you money, but this is your attitude. I don't think you should open your breakfast stall anymore. I'll find a few brothers to come over tomorrow. Let's see if you can still do business then. The brothers that Qin Jinkuan mentioned were, of course, a group of rich playboys. These people were not good at other things, but they were good at making trouble. With these people around, how could Xiao Qin do business? Qing Minjing was a little unhappy about Qin Jinkuan's attitude, but she couldn't show her support for Xiao Qin in public. At this time, Qin Jinkuan turned to Tang Tang again. Fat girl, are you Xiao Qin's girlfriend? He cares about you, doesn't he? Very well, maybe he will care more about you tomorrow. Usually, Qin Jinkuan was a relatively steady person. Although he was a bit like a rich playboy, he had a sense of propriety. Today he was really angry, so he said those words. Of course, don't think that he just said it casually, because he meant what he said. Jingxian, Qing Menjing, wait for me here. I'll go to a 5-star hotel to buy breakfast for you. We'll eat here. Let's show Xiao Qin that without Butcher Zhang, I won't be able to eat a depilate pig. After that, Qin Jinkuan angrily got into his Bugatti Veyron. The engine roared, but the car didn't directly leave the morning market street. Qin Jinkuan couldn't bear it. He and Xiao Qin didn't get along. At that time, he couldn't deal with Xiao Qin because Xiao Qin had the halo of the young master of the Xiao family. But now he didn't have so many taboos. As long as he didn't do it in front of Xin Jingxian and Qing Menjing, it would be fine. Qin Laosan? I'm Qin Jinkuan. Qin Jinkuan called Qin Laosan, a disciple of the Qin family. Young Master Kuan, it's me. What can I do for you? Qin Laosan received Qin Jinkuan's call and immediately became very respectful. He also knew that Qin Jinkuan was the successor of the Qin family. So if he wanted to continue to have a good position in the Qin family, he must please Qin Jinkuan. Find me a few people to come to the morning market street tomorrow and smash up Xiao Qian's stall. Beat him until he's disabled. Just don't beat him to death. As for the fat girl next to him, find a few underlings and gang rape her. Qin Jinkuan ordered coldly. Xiao Qin? Qin Laosan was stunned. He naturally knew Xiao Qin. He also knew the grudge between Qin Jinkuan and Xiao Qin. Even the second young master, Qin Jinping, and Xiao Qin had a falling out. He was just puzzled. Why did Xiao Qin go to sell breakfast? Yes, Xiao Qin is selling breakfast on the morning market street. You come and get him for me. Qin Jinkuan said, Okay, that's it for now. Yes, I understand. Chen Laosan was a disciple of a steward of the Chen family. He ran a security company under him. He was considered to be half black and half white. Chen Jingquan naturally looked for him for this kind of thing. After hanging up the phone, Chen Jingquan started the car and went to a 5-star hotel to buy breakfast. On the other side, Xiaoqin seemed to be frying the fried dough sticks calmly, but a surge of hostility suddenly gushed out from his heart. Xiaoqin clearly heard Chen Jingquan's words in the car. He was a cultivator, so this distance was no problem for him. Xiaoqin didn't feel anything about finding trouble with him. He would deal with it when it came. However, Chen Jingquan's last sentence made Xiaoqin's anger that he had just suppressed burst out again. Make a move on Tang Tang? Find someone to gang rape her? Very well, let's see if anyone will listen to you after you are dead. Now in Xiaoqin's eyes, there was no restriction between the families. If you want to kill my friend, I will kill you first. Tang Tang, you hold on for a while. I'm going to the toilet. Xiaoqin said to her calmly. Okay. Tang Tang didn't think much about it. After all, people eat grains. Who doesn't go to the toilet? In the past, Xiaoqin also went to the toilet. Cheng Minjing saw Xiaoqin leave and gritted her teeth. Xiaoqin looked at the young miss. How could he not know what she meant? He smiled at her and expressed enough kindness. This made Cheng Minjing's heart relieved. It seemed that Xiaoqin understood her difficulties. However, Xiaoqin didn't have time to say anything to Cheng Minjing. He pretended to have a stomachache and left the morning street in a hurry. Elder Heaven Ancestor, which direction did he go? Xiaoqin asked secretly. On the left side of the morning street. Elder Heaven Ancestor naturally knew what Xiaoqin was thinking. I say, Xiaoqin, you don't want to fight on the street, do you? The opponent is a stage 3 inner force warrior. Although you have a chance of winning, the chance of winning is not very high. I don't need to fight. Elder Heaven Ancestor, just do me a favor later. Xiaoqin was not stupid. If he fought with Chen Jingquan on the street, wouldn't it be equal to exposing his strength to the public? Right now, Xiaoqin didn't want to expose his strength too early. Xiaoqin walked out of the morning street and walked to the left. Then he found a hidden bench on the side of the road and sat down. Since Chen Jingquan left from this side, he must be coming back from this side. Xiaoqin didn't have to worry about not seeing Chen Jingquan at all. Chen Jingquan was afraid that Shen Jingxian and the others would wait too long, so he came and went in a hurry. He bought 4 servings of soybean milk and fried dough sticks in a high-end hotel and drove back. His car was a sports car. Early in the morning on the weekend, there weren't many cars on the road, so the advantage of a sports car was obvious. Suddenly Xiaoqin opened his eyes. In the distance, the silver Bugatti Veyron had already entered his perception range. He had to thank Chen Jingquan for this. If it wasn't for his car being too eye-catching, Xiaoqin wouldn't have been able to discover it so easily. Elder Heaven Ancestor, help me make Chen Jingquan hit the garbage truck on the opposite side. A touch of coldness flashed in Xiaoqin's eyes. Ah, Xiaoqin, you can't be so impulsive. I was just wondering what you wanted me to help you with. So it's this. Elder Heaven Ancestor used to be a person in the cultivation world. There were no cars there, so he didn't think that Chen Jingquan would die in a car accident. So he was very surprised. Now he realized that Xiaoqin wanted to kill him secretly. It was easy for Elder Heaven Ancestor to influence a stage 3 inner force martial artist's decision. Chen Jingquan's silver sports car suddenly changed direction and went straight to the back of a garbage truck that was parked on the side of the road. Boom! The car accident happened in an instant. In the blink of an eye, the whole Bugatti Veyron squeezed into the back of the truck, and Chen Jingquan's head was crushed in an instant. For a moment, the roadside was drenched with blood. Next to the truck, the worker who operated the garbage forklift was scared. Looking at the blood and debris on the ground, he didn't know what to do. A stage 3 inner force martial artist was still too weak. In the face of the absolute crushing of the car accident, there was no hope of survival. Xiaoqin didn't even bother to look at it. He got up from the bench and quickly ran to the morning market street. After returning to the breakfast stall, Xiaoqin pretended that nothing had happened. Seeing Tang Tang's busy and sweaty face, he had a strange feeling in his heart. Working people were the cutest. Tang Tang, are you busy? Let me do it. As Xiaoqin spoke, he took over the work from Tang Tang skillfully. As for Cheng Minjing and Shen Jingxian, they stood not far away awkwardly, not knowing whether to leave or stay. They didn't know what Chen Jingquan was up to. He had been gone for so long and still hadn't come back. As for Jean Bebe, they didn't know where she was. She probably went shopping on the morning market street. She had never been to such a place before, so naturally she was full of curiosity. After a while, Jean Bebe suddenly ran back with her hands on her chest, panting. She said breathlessly, bad news, bad news? Something big happened. My breasts are about to fall off. Although Jean Bebe's voice was not loud, it still attracted the strange looks of several young men around her. Cheng Minjing was immediately speechless. She glared at Jean Bebe and said, Bebe, what's wrong with you? Is it a big deal if your breasts fall off? If you don't run you will be fine, right? Chapter 67. Xin Jingxian couldn't help but smile. She also felt that Jean Bebe the little clown was quite interesting. Oh, that's not it. What I mean is that something serious happened. I just ran back and almost lost my breasts. That's not the important thing. Jean Bebe waved her hands and took a deep breath. Qin Jingquan was killed in a car accident. What? Cheng Minjing and Xin Jingxian widened their eyes at the same time. Qin Jingquan was killed by a car accident? When did that happen? Is it true? Bebe, don't talk nonsense. Cheng Minjing frowned. Although she knew that Jean Bebe must have disliked Qin Jingquan, and although Cheng Minjing didn't want to admit it, she had to admit that Jean Bebe seemed to have a good impression of Xiaoqin because she had never seen Jean Bebe get along so well with any guy. Therefore, Jean Bebe must have hated Qin Jingquan because of the previous unpleasantness. However, even though she hated him, she couldn't curse him, could she? It must be noted that Qin Jingquan was Xin Jingshuan's fiancé after all. I'm not talking nonsense. When I went to the street of the morning market to see if there was anything good, I heard a loud boom. A silver sports car got into the bottom of a garbage truck. Jean Bebe said vividly, Holy sh*t. I was wondering which idiot drove the car. He died a miserable death and his head was smashed. But when I took a closer look, I found that it was Qin Jingquan's Bugatti Veyron, wasn't it? Therefore I hurried to inform them. Is what you said true? Although Xin Jingxian didn't like Qin Jingquan, she couldn't do anything about it. Qin Jingquan was already her fiancé. Therefore, Qin Jingquan's death was also a big deal for the Xin family. Under such circumstances, Xin Jingxian had to take it seriously. How could I be joking? As Jean Bebe spoke, she turned around and looked at Xiaoqin. Cousin-in-law, the public toilet is on the other side of the street. You went to the toilet just now, didn't you? You should have seen it too, right? Jean Bebe's words made Xiaoqin's heart skip a beat. Just now, Jean Bebe said that she ran back as soon as she saw the car accident, which made Xiaoqin feel that something was wrong. He was also on the other side of the street and he was on a bench some distance away from the street. He also came back after the car accident, but Jean Bebe came back a few minutes later than him and she ran back breathlessly. Judging from the time, something was not right. However, Jean Bebe might have been dumbfounded at that time. It was also possible that she recognized that it was Qin Jingquan's car after watching for a while. Therefore she was a bit slower. Besides, there were so many onlookers so it was impossible for Xiaoqin to notice whether Jean Bebe was in the car or not. However, Jean Bebe's sudden question made Xiaoqin feel that Jean Bebe was hinting at something. I came back directly. Qin Jingquan is dead. That's good news. Xiaoqin was very happy about Qin Jingquan's death. Jean Bebe did not ask Xiaoqin anything else. Instead, she turned around and asked Cheng Minjing, what bad luck. Cousin Minjing, what should we do now? Minjing, I'm so sorry. I came to see you today but I didn't expect such a thing to happen. I'll come to see you in a few days. I have to deal with the things here with my family, Xin Jingxian said solemnly. Okay. Go ahead. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. Cheng Minjing also knew how serious this matter was. Qin Jingquan was a junior that the Qin family paid special attention to. At such a young age, he was already a level 3 inner force warrior, which had reached the standard to be apprenticed to the warrior guild. As long as he was 18 years old, he could be apprenticed to the warrior guild officially. He had a bright future and was no less promising than Cheng Zhongqian of the Cheng family. Cheng Minjing was very clear that Cheng Zhongqian's disappearance had caused a great shock to the Cheng family. Even Xiaoqin had become a scapegoat. Although the Qin family where Qin Jingquan was from did not have the same background as the Cheng family, it would be hard for them to let this matter go. After Xin Jingxian left, Cheng Minjing was a little embarrassed. She could neither leave nor stay here. She did not know how to explain it to Xiaoqin. Cousin-in-law, give me a serving of soybean milk. Jean Bebe, on the other hand, was hungry. She directly ran to Xiaoqin's Youqiao stall and said, now that Xin Jingxian was gone and Qin Jingquan was dead, there was no need for her to pretend anymore. A serving of soybean milk? Xiaoqin was dazed for a moment. That sounded a little ambiguous. However, he knew Jean Bebe's personality very well. He nodded and picked up a bowl, preparing to fill it with soybean milk. Then he said, do you want the Youqiao? No, I'm not hungry. I've already eaten too early. Cousin Menjing, do you want it? Jean Bebe said. Okay. Xiao Qin smiled. He picked up a plate and filled it with 2 youtiao and 2 bowls of soybean milk. He gave them to Jean Bebe and said, "Give them to Miss Tang. There are tables nearby. You can take a seat and eat." There was a row of free tables and chairs behind the morning market, which were provided by the market. Every stall only needed to pay the usage fee and the management fee every month. Although she had to pay, she did not have to worry that the regular market would be cleaned up. She could run her business here without worry. Therefore Tang Tang was quite willing to pay the fee. "Cousin-in-law, I didn't bring any money with me. Considering our relationship, you won't take my money, will you?" Jean Bebe picked up the plate and left happily. "You've already broken off the engagement, but you still call me cousin so intimately. It's obvious that you are just freeloading." Hearing that Jean Bebe did not pay, Tang Tang mumbled angrily. Of course, there was no telling whether she was angry because Jean Bebe did not pay or because Jean Bebe was angry. "I'd love to." Although Tang Tang's voice was low, Jean Bebe still heard it. "Besides, my cousin has broken off the engagement, but I haven't. Have you ever heard that my sister-in-law is Bebe?" Cheng Minjing covered Jean Bebe's mouth and glared at her. "Don't talk nonsense. Are you going to eat or not? If not, are you leaving?" Of course. Jean Bebe was dragged away to eat. Why are you bickering with a little girl?" Xiao Qin shrugged helplessly. "Bebe is a nice person. We are all friends. How can I ask her for money? Besides, it's just a title." "Got it?" Tang Tang secretly sighed. It seemed that Xiao Qin still liked Cheng Menjing. Otherwise, why would he be so happy when Jean Bebe called him cousin husband? It was obvious that he wanted to be her cousin husband. Xiao Qin was busy kneading the dough with his head lowered and did not notice Tang Tang's expression. Naturally, he did not know that Tang Tang had misunderstood him. However, Xiao Qin suddenly found that his psychological quality had become so high. He had just killed a person. Although it could be said that it was not him who killed the person but the elder heaven ancestor who killed the person invisibly, it was Xiao Qin's idea in the final analysis. However, Xiao Qin was unusually calm at this moment. After experiencing life and death, Xiao Qin had seen many things lightly. Relying on others was meaningless. Only relying on himself was real. He had thought that his family and his father were his biggest backers in his life. But now, he had been abandoned by his family and his father had gone missing. His own strength was the most important thing. Cheng Minjing and Jean Bebe were eating breakfast at a table nearby. Cheng Minjing did not know what to say. Tang Tang was also here, which made her feel very embarrassed. "Cousin Minjing, it seems that cousin-in-law is going to have an affair," Jean Bebe said while looking at Xiao Qin and Tang Tang who were busy. "You'd better care about something useful." Cheng Minjing did not want to talk about this topic anymore. "Have you finished eating? Go back if you have." "Oh, I've finished eating. It's cousin Minjing who hasn't." Jean Bebe pointed at the deep-fried dough sticks on Cheng Minjing's plate and said, "I'll pack it up." Cheng Minjing said. When Xin Jingxian saw the scene of the car accident, she was also stunned. She had contacted her father, Xin Zhenghao. Xin Zhenghao was the person in charge of the Xin family in Songning City. Although the Xin family was a giant, their foundation was not in Songning City. Although they had a lot of investments in Songning City, they had to win the support of some local forces if they wanted to establish a foothold here and establish a branch of an aristocratic family. The Xin family favored the Qin family. Of course, it did not mean that the Qin family was very powerful. On the contrary, the Qin family was not the most powerful among the 9 aristocratic families. What he valued was that the young master of the Qin family had not been engaged. Of course, it was not only the Qin family that had not been engaged. It was because Qin Jingquan of the Qin family had the strength to be superior to the juniors of other aristocratic families. Both conditions met, so Qin Jingquan naturally became Xin Zhenghao's choice. This was also the reason why Xin Jingxian was engaged. However, he did not expect that Qin Jingquan would die as soon as this matter was settled. Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? When Xin Zhenghao arrived at the scene, Qin Jingquan's father, Qin Zhantian, had just arrived. Although Qin Zhantian was a martial artist, his son died a violent death. At this moment, he suppressed the sadness in his heart and his whole body was trembling. He nodded to Xin Jingxian and rushed to the scene of the accident. There were already traffic police dealing with the traffic accident. "I am the father of the deceased. What the hell happened?" Qin Zhantian asked the traffic police officer who was dealing with the accident. Qin Zhantian was a celebrity in Songning City. He was the president of Chen's Security Supplies Group. Many police equipment were also produced by Chen's group. The captain of the traffic police squadron naturally knew Chen Zhantian. The accident was very serious. Just the vehicle involved in the accident was worth tens of millions. Therefore, the captain personally came to deal with the accident. However, he did not expect that the victim of the accident was the young master of Chen's group. President Chen, you mean, the victim of the accident is? The squadron captain was shocked. He did not expect the deceased to have such a big background. Yes, what the hell happened? Chen Zhantian did not lose his temper. After all, it had nothing to do with these people. If he wanted to figure out the truth of the matter, he needed the help of these people. President Chen, it's like this. According to the witness, your son's car was originally driving normally, but it suddenly lost control and went under the garbage truck. The squadron captain explained. Chapter 68. Normal driving? Chen Zhantian couldn't help but frown. Not to mention normal driving, even if it wasn't normal with Chen Jingquan's strength, it wasn't difficult for him to judge in an instant. No matter how bad it was impossible for him to hide under the truck, right? At this time, Shen Jinghao asked Shen Jingxian about what happened and walked over. When he heard the words of the squadron leader, he couldn't help but ask, is it an accident or is there something else? Shen Jinghao's question was also what Chen Zhantian wanted to ask. Although the Chen family was strong, it wasn't that they didn't have enemies. All the aristocratic families were competing with each other. It wasn't impossible to kill the heir of the Chen family and suppress the Chen family, especially when the Chen family and the Shen family cooperated. This was the rhythm of the Chen family's rise. Killing Chen Jingquan at this time was tantamount to obstructing the cooperation between the Chen family and the Shen family. According to the eyewitness, it was an accident. The squadron leader said, but our colleagues in the accident department have found the car's driving recorder and someone went to retrieve the video of this intersection. Everything will be concluded soon. Chen Zhantian nodded and sighed, then I'll have to trouble you. The squadron leader didn't say anything, just nodded heavily and went to busy himself with other matters. Brother Chen, I'm sorry for your loss. This matter seems to be an accident. Shen Jinghao said. I also hope it was an accident. Chen Zhantian nodded and said, originally you and I could still marry each other. Who would have thought that such a thing would happen? Jingquan, this child, how could he be so reckless? Chen Zhantian's voice was trembling, but he was able to restrain his grief. This was because this matter was estimated to have reached other families, and he didn't want them to laugh at him. Brother Chen, don't worry. Even if our two families didn't marry each other, this friendship is already formed. In the future we can help each other. In fact, Shen Jinghao didn't want such a thing to happen. Shen Jingxian just married Chen Jingquan, and then Chen Jingquan died. He was also very depressed. It wasn't that Shen Jingxian couldn't get married. In fact, if he spread the news, other aristocratic families would still line up to marry Shen Jingxian. However, this also involved the issue of face. Shen Jinghao was also from a wealthy family. His fiancée just died and it wasn't the right thing to do. At that time, it would be impossible for him to cooperate with the Chen family. This was not a situation that Shen Jinghao wanted to see. He didn't like people who were two-faced. Since they had cooperated, they should continue to cooperate. Although there was no marriage alliance and this cooperation was not very reliable, at least he couldn't choose another family for the time being. Future matters could be discussed in the future. Hey, elder brother Shen has this kind of heart, our Chen family is very grateful. Elder brother Shen, here is a mess, why don't you take Jingxian back first? She has also suffered quite a shock. It's useless for you to stay here, Shen Jingquan said. Alright, then we'll head back first. Shen Jinghao nodded. At this time he also knew that he couldn't help much here. This was a sad time for the Chen family. They also needed to discuss the next countermeasures. Chen Jingquan had always been regarded as the successor of the third generation of the Chen family. The Chen family's cultivation resources were all inclined towards him. But now this person suddenly died, disrupting the Chen family's deployment. Now the Chen family had to reconsider. The scene of the car accident was quickly dealt with. At this moment, Chen Zhantian had also returned to the Chen family. In the Chen family's meeting hall, the old man of the Chen family, Chen Wuxian, had an ugly expression on his face. At this moment, this old man who was originally full of vigor suddenly aged a lot. His hands were trembling slightly. He couldn't accept the truth in front of him. The grandson he valued so much had died? Just like that? At this moment, the happiest person in the entire Chen family was Chen Jinpeng. Even Chen Huanling, Chen Jinpeng's father, didn't want Chen Jingquan to die. The continuous development of a family needed a capable person to be at the helm. Qin Huanling knew very well what kind of person his son was. His son was a playboy. His strength was not as good as Qin Jinkuan's, and his temperament was not as good as Qin Jinkuan's. What kind of future did he have? Jiantian, what the hell happened? Did the traffic police come to a conclusion? Qin Wuxian asked painfully. Father, they have come to a conclusion. It was an accident. Whether it was the surveillance cameras on the streets or the driving recorder on Jinkuan's car, it can be confirmed that it was an accident. No one framed Jinkuan. Although Qin Jiantian didn't want to believe it, he still told the truth. What an eventful time. I originally thought that the marriage between the Qin family and the Shin family would bring us a step further, but such a thing happened. Qin Wuxian was surprised to hear this. He knew that he couldn't blame anyone for this and could only accept it. Father, I think that the Qin family must come up with a plan. Jinkuan is gone. Although this is very sad, I think that we can't give up on the cooperation with the Shin family. Qin Wuxian said. Oh, how can we cooperate? Qin Wuxian was slightly surprised. Jinkuan is gone, but there is still Jinpeng. In the future, the Qin family can only use Jinpeng as the only person to cultivate. I think we can transfer this marriage to Jinpeng. Qin Jiantian suggested. Oh. After Qin Wuxian heard this, he looked at Qin Jiantian with approval. As the leader of the second generation of the Qin family, Qin Jiantian already had the consciousness of putting the family first. Jinpeng and Jinkuan were fighting openly and secretly. Of course, Qin Jinpeng's matters were not on the table. The Qin family also didn't think that Qin Jinpeng could have any future prospects. Even Qin Huanling didn't think that his son could make any waves. He only hoped that his son could become a rich man under the protection of the Qin family. Qin Jinpeng was shocked. Yes, Qin Jinkuan was dead. Now the only direct descendant of the Qin family was him. If not him, who else should they cultivate? Especially the marriage with Xin Jingxian. Qin Jinpeng almost laughed out loud. He was also secretly in love with Xin Jingxian. However, he felt that there was no hope and could only dream about it. He didn't expect that it would become a reality. Jinpeng, this child, doesn't have any ability. Qin Huanling was a little worried. He knew his son better than anyone else. Second brother, we watched Jinpeng grow up. Although he is a bit naughty, who else should the Qin family cultivate if not him? Are we going to cultivate those collateral relatives? Qin Jiantian interrupted Qin Huanling and said. Huanling, Jiantian is right. No matter what, Jinpeng is the only direct descendant of the Qin family. If we don't cultivate him, who else should we cultivate? This matter is settled. From now on, Qin Jinpeng will be the third-generation heir of the Qin family. Qin Wuxian said decisively. Jiantian, call Xin Jinghao later and tell him about the marriage. No matter how good our discussion is, if he doesn't agree, there is nothing we can do. In fact, Grandpa Qin also knew that Xin Jinghao liked Qin Jinkuan because of his level 3 internal force. Qin Jinpeng was different, but he could only give it a try. At this moment, Xin Jingxian was sitting quietly in Xin Jinghao's car, not saying a word. Luckily, Jingxian, you two haven't officially gotten engaged yet. Otherwise, it would be bad to have a bad reputation. Xin Jinghao said with fear. If that was really the case, it wouldn't be easy for Xin Jingxian to marry a good family. After all, these big families still cared about their reputation. Dad, now that Qin Jinkuan is dead, does that mean the engagement is cancelled? In fact, Xin Jingxian didn't like Qin Jinkuan at all. Now that Qin Jinkuan was dead, she felt nothing but sympathy. Jingxian, you know that as a girl of the Xin family, you can't decide your own marriage unless you really like a powerful young master from a big family. Only then will the Xin family support you. Xin Jinghao said, although marriage is a very vulgar method, our Xin family has been developing to this day. We have survived several disasters. What did we rely on? Isn't it because of external help? Where does this external help come from? It's from our in-laws. Chapter 69. Brother Qin, how is it? Is there a result? Xin Jinghao picked up the phone and asked. It was an accident, it has been confirmed. Qin Jiantian said. Brother Qin, I'm sorry for your loss. You and I are both martial artists, so let's not worry too much. Xin Jinghao comforted him. I understand, thank you, Brother Xin. But this time I called you to tell you about the decision of our Qin family. Qin Jiantian said. The decision of the Qin family? Xin Jinghao was slightly stunned. What does the decision of the Qin family have to do with me? In the past, the two families were in-laws, so it was fine for him to listen to it, but now, what was he listening to? Qin Jinpeng has been designated as the third-generation heir of the Qin family by my father. All the resources of the Qin family will be given to him. In this way, I think there is no need to cancel the marriage between our two families. The brother is gone, and the fiancé of the brother is married to the younger brother. This is a common thing in our ancient martial arts families. Qin Zhantian first explained this matter reasonably and then said, "Brother Qin, what do you think?" This. Shen Jinghao didn't expect the Qin family to make a decision so quickly. This made him a little embarrassed. He understood what Qin Zhantian said. Not to mention that they were not married. Even if they were married, it was common for the sister-in-law to marry the brother-in-law in ancient times. At least, it was reasonable from the perspective of etiquette. Moreover, this was also a situation that Shen Jinghao was happy to see. He had been in contact with the Qin family for so long and was only lacking the next step of substantive cooperation. If they were to die now, it would be impossible for Shen Jinghao to contact other families in a short period of time. This would be disadvantageous to Shen Jinghao's son in competing for the position of heir. So after thinking for a moment, Shen Jinghao agreed, "I think there is no problem, but I need to work on my daughter's side. After all, I need her consent." "Ah, no problem. You don't need Jingshuan's consent. How about the two children get to know each other first? Once they are familiar with each other, it will be logical," Qin Zhantian said. Of course, if the two of them were to come into contact with each other, the matter would be more or less settled. Once the rumor spread, how could it not be settled? Both families were people who cared about their reputation. Between the children of aristocratic families, they either didn't want to be together, or they had to persevere. Otherwise the two families would fall out. The Xiao family and the Qing family, the Yu family and the Tang family, weren't they the same? "Alright, I won't bother you anymore. There are a lot of things to take care of at home and I have to deal with them." Qin Zhantian achieved his goal and no longer said anything. His son's funeral preparations had already begun. After hanging up the phone, Shen Jinghao sighed and looked at Shen Jingxian. "Jingxian, it's settled. Your marriage partner is Qin Jinping." "Qin Jinping?" Shen Jingxian was stunned. She could barely accept Qin Jinkuan, but she looked down on Qin Jinping. This person did not have much ability and was a profligate son of a rich family. He followed behind Xiao Qin and used his connections to intimidate others. Of course, what Shen Jingxian couldn't accept the most was that this person was two-faced. This kind of behavior made her look down on him. Since he was Xiao Qian's little brother, why did he rely on Xiao Yuliang? Qin Jinping has been confirmed as the third-generation heir of the Qin family. All the cultivation resources will be given to him. Although this person's status in the Qin family can't catch up with Qin Jinkuan, it will happen sooner or later. Shen Jinghao said, "Jingxian, this person is still okay. No matter what, he is better than Xiao Qin of the Xiao family, right? At least, Qin Jinping can still cultivate." Oh. Shen Jingxian knew that her father had made up his mind. At this moment, nothing she said could help. In fact, Shen Jingxian thought that Xiao Qin was better than Qin Jinping. At least, Xiao Qin could live well without the halo of a child, which meant that Xiao Qin was not a loser. When Xiao Qin closed the stall and went home in the evening, Jean Bebe was still there. She was commenting on a character in a TV series with Miss Xiao. Seeing Xiao Qin coming back, Cheng Minjing snorted unhappily, "Bebe and I haven't had dinner yet. You came back so late. Are you going to make us starve? Don't you know who you are?" Hee hee. Xiao Qin was already used to Miss Xiao's princess syndrome. He put the bag in his hand on the tea table in front of them and said, "I made fried dough twists and fried cakes for you. Have a taste." "Wow, cousin-in-law, you have added a new variety again?" The fried dough twists looked delicious. While speaking, Jean Bebe started to eat while drooling. She picked up a piece of fried dough twists and stuffed it in. "They look greasy. I wonder if I will get pimples on my face if I eat them." Although Cheng Minjing also felt that the fried dough twists looked delicious, she could not be happy when Xiao Qin took out delicious food since he came back so late, could she? That would be too easy to please. "However, I am a natural beauty. Let's try some of them. Which one should we eat first?" "Wow. They are so delicious. Cousin-in-law, your cooking skills are really good. Whoever marries you will be happy." Jean Bebe ate the fried dough twists with her mouth covered in grease. "Hey, save some for me. You damn Bebe, do you want to die?" Cheng Minjing was trying to be reserved when she suddenly discovered that there was only one fried cake left. The other three had been eaten up by Jean Bebe, and one was still in her hand. Cheng Minjing immediately grew anxious and snatched it away. "Don't you know that you should be more lenient to your cousin?" "Ah, he is my cousin-in-law and you are my cousin. You can eat them whenever you want. I can't unless you give your cousin-in-law to me." Jean Bebe picked up a fried dough twist somewhat unwillingly. Cheng Minjing snorted and ordered Xiao Qin, "Xiao Qin, if there is delicious food in the future, do not give it to Bebe." "Oh hee hee. Xiao Chen smiled. Looking at the two girls eating happily, Xiao Chen also heaved a sigh of relief. To be honest, he really came back a little late. His current identity was the young Mrs. Male servant. Every day he was busy with his own matters. It was really a little unreasonable. "Cousin-in-law, if you want to marry my cousin you have to please me," Jean Bebe said. "You guys eat. I will go back to my room first." Xiao Chen was going to brew medicine. He did not want to talk about this topic anymore. After all, he felt that it was impossible for him to be with Cheng Menjing. He could joke with her, but it was not appropriate for him to joke with her all the time. "Come back early tomorrow to buy a car." Cheng Menjing glanced at Xiao Chen and said, "Buy a car?" Xiao Chen then remembered that Cheng Menjing said that she would buy a car on the weekend, but he was too busy and forgot about it. "Okay, I will come back in the afternoon." After returning to his room, Xiao Chen sent a message to Tang Tang and told her that he would buy a car the next day. Tang Tang replied quickly, "Why are you going to buy a car? It is not for you." "Hee hee, I'm the driver," Xiao Chen replied. Tang Tang said, "Oh, go ahead. But you have to come in the morning. I am too busy in the morning." "I will definitely go in the morning. I will go there early tomorrow. I will need the fried dough twists and cover them with plastic wrap. In the afternoon you can directly put them into the pot." Unsurprisingly, Xiao Chen was still very proficient in making fried dough twists and fried cakes. The next morning, or rather early, Xiao Chen got up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Now that he had the advantage of making food, Xiao Chen did not want to waste it. Instead of eating instant noodles, Xiao Chen directly made a pot of lean meat porridge. After leaving a note for the first Miss and Jean Bebe, he went out. Since he was going to buy a car that day, Jean Bebe stayed here that night. Xiao Chen came earlier than usual, so he began to knead the dough in the yard of the granny's grocery store. However, to Xiao Chen's surprise, Tang Tang came soon. "Why are you here so early?" Xiao Chen was a little surprised. "You told me to come earlier. I couldn't sleep after I woke up, so I came." Tang Tang smiled and said, "Let's do it together." "Okay." Xiao Chen felt that "do it together" was a little ambiguous. However, it seemed that he had thought too much. The car accident on the street of the morning market had no influence on the street. Ordinary people would not care about Chen Jingquan's death. Only the aristocratic families were shocked. Some were sad while some were happy. In fact, many aristocratic families did not want the Chen family to unite with the Shin family through marriage. After all, if the Chen family became powerful, they would definitely threaten the status of other aristocratic families. Now that a promising member of the third generation of the Chen family had died, the marriage would definitely be ruined. Many people were laughing at the Chen family. Unexpectedly, the Chen family reacted so fast. On the night of Chen Jingquan's death, they pushed Chen Jinpeng into the spotlight. Moreover, the engagement with the Shin family would be inherited by Chen Jinpeng. Many aristocratic families did not expect that. Of course, these things had nothing to do with Xiao Chen and Tang Tang at the moment. No one told them the follow-up of the matter. Xiao Chen did not care at all. In his view, no one could suspect him of the way Chen Jingquan died, at least not at this stage. Before he showed his strength, he was still safe. Well, now that I think about it, it's better for us to be broken off than for Shin Jingshuan's fiancée to die. If Shin Jingxian wants to marry in the future, her choice will be a little narrow. Tang Tang felt that Shin Jingxian was very pitiful. It's okay. She didn't like Chen Jingquan. It's okay that she died. Xiao Chen used to like Shin Jingxian. Even now, he still had a good impression of her. Naturally, he did not want to see Shin Jingxian unhappy. Sometimes it was hard for Xiao Chen to tell whether he killed Chen Jingquan yesterday for Tang Tang or because he did not want Shin Jingxian to be with Chen Jingquan. Of course, the former was definitely the main reason. The latter also faintly influenced Xiao Chen's decision. "Hey, it sounds like you are interested in Shin Jingxian." Tang Tang was actually very sensitive. From Xiao Chen's tone, she heard something unusual. Chapter 70. Sort of. But that's all in the past. Now I'm in love with you. Xiao Chen smiled casually. Humph. I don't believe it. Although she said so, she was secretly delighted for no reason. She was even more enthusiastic about making the fried dough sticks. The whole morning was spent in busy work. After lunch, Xiao Chen prepared lunch for his mistress and Jean Bebe. Then he said goodbye to Tang Tang. "Cousin-in-law, did you bring me delicious food again?" When Jean Bebe saw Xiao Chen, she directly snatched the bag in his hand. "Bebe, why are you like a starving ghost? You are so crazy. Can't you be more ladylike?" Cheng Menjing was quite dissatisfied with Jean Bebe's behavior. We are all on the same side. Why are you still acting cool? Ladylike? I hate it. Jean Bebe opened the bag and began to eat. Hey, leave some for me. Cheng Minjing grew anxious and rushed over to snatch the food. Cousin, don't you want to be a ladylike girl? Why are you robbing me too? Although Jean Bebe was talking, she did not lag behind at all. A fried cake had already entered her stomach. If you don't rob me, there won't be any left. I just had a bowl of the porridge in the morning and you had a whole pot. Cheng Minjing yelled angrily. Well, I'm still growing. Jean Bebe was somewhat embarrassed. The lean meat porridge in the morning was too delicious. She thought it was even better than the ones in the five-star hotels. What growing? It's all on your chest, isn't it? Cheng Minjing had no time to care about her image anymore. She snatched a fried dough twist and a fried cake and ran away. She did not eat as fast as Jean Bebe. She was naturally at a disadvantage. Therefore she could only rob the food and eat it slowly. It did not occur to Xiao Qin that the food he made would be so popular. He was rather relieved. It seemed that Cheng Minjing was satisfied with him as a servant. Then he could continue working for her. To be honest, Xiao Qin really did not want to leave the mistress and work on his own. It was not because Xiao Qin liked Cheng Minjing and did not want to be apart from her, but it was not important. The main problem was that Xiao Qin did not want others to pay attention to him. He could train and improve his capability in secret here. If he went out, he would become a big target. By then, it would not be easy for him to hide anything. At the very least, with Cheng Minjing's identity as the eldest daughter of the Cheng family, it was impossible for the other aristocratic families to monitor this place. This was related to the Cheng family's reputation. There's no need to fight for it. If you want to eat, I can make some more tonight, Xiao Qin said with a smile. Who wants to eat it? I only ate it because I was so hungry that I had nothing else to eat. Xiao Qin, why did you come back so late? Naturally, Cheng Minjing would not admit that the food was delicious. Therefore she changed the topic. There were a lot of customers at noon. I was delayed, Xiao Qin said. I didn't eat it myself and came back in a hurry. It couldn't be, right? You didn't eat it either? Cheng Minjing had just finished the food in her hand. She was dazed for a moment and somewhat touched. But since she had finished the food, she could only say, Bebe, don't eat so much. Leave some for Xiao Qin. Well, this is the last fried dough twist. Jean Bebe had just stuffed the last fried dough twist into her mouth when she pulled it out again. There was still a line of saliva on it, but it was not disgusting at all. Instead, it was particularly tempting. I haven't eaten it yet. Brother-in-law, here you are. While talking, Jean Bebe gave the fried dough twist with saliva on it to Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin was immediately rendered speechless. Although he felt that it was quite an erotic thing, he had nothing to do with the lady right now, let alone Jean Bebe. If he took it and ate it, what would be the relationship between Xiao Qin and Jean Bebe in the future? It seems that you are not full yet. You should eat it. I'll make some noodles later, Xiao Qin said. That's unnecessary. Actually, I'm full. I'm a bit bloated. Jean Bebe touched her abdomen with her other hand and then raised the fried dough twist to Xiao Qin. Open your mouth, brother-in-law. Ah. Xiao Qin did not know whether to eat it or not. Bebe, your saliva is still on it. Cheng Minjing glared at Jean Bebe. Brother-in-law, you don't like me? Jean Bebe asked pitifully. Xiao Qin had no choice but to eat the fried dough twist that Jean Bebe handed to him. Okay, let's go, shall we? You don't want to eat instant noodles anymore? Cheng Minjing asked. I'm full. Xiao Qin did not want to waste any more time on it. It was already past 1 o'clock in the afternoon. If he stayed any longer, the car store would be closed. Bebe's saliva can fill you up? Cheng Minjing watched Xiao Qin enjoying the fried dough twist and felt that he was asking for a beating. Faced with the lady's question, Xiao Qin could only pretend that he was innocent. In fact, although the way he ate the fried dough twist was a bit erotic, Xiao Qin did not have many thoughts about Jean Bebe. After all, Jean Bebe's deeds in the past were too deeply rooted in his heart. Xiao Qin was a fake foppish man, but he was not a real foppish man. Naturally, he would not mess with Jean Bebe for no reason. However, after getting along with her for a few times, he felt that Jean Bebe's personality was not bad. She was not as terrifying as the rumors said. After changing his clothes, Xiao Qin left the villa with Cheng Minjing and Jean Bebe. They were sitting in Jean Bebe's beetle and Xiao Qin was sitting in the back seat. With his height, he could already practice the bone-shrinking technique. On the way, Cheng Minjing was discussing with Jean Bebe what kind of car they should buy. Cousin Minjing, I think we should buy a sports car. It's so cool. Jean Bebe had always been drooling over sports cars. Unfortunately, although Master Jean treasured her, the Jean family did not have much business after all, and Jean Bebe did not have much pocket money. Can 3 people sit in a sports car? Will you be sitting in the back seat in the future? Cheng Minjing asked back. All right. There's also my cousin-in-law. It was not until then that Jean Bebe remembered that Xiao Chen was still sitting in the back seat. She had chosen the car based on her previous experience, but there was one more person in the family now. He's the driver, Cheng Minjing corrected her. Why don't we buy a Porsche Panamera? It's also a sports car and it has 4 doors, Jean Bebe suggested. That's not a bad idea. Cheng Minjing looked a little better after hearing that. She was worried about Xiao Chen. In her opinion, the assassins who tried to assassinate Xiao Chen the other day were probably sent by the Cheng family. As long as Xiao Chen drove and she stayed in the car, it would be impossible for the Cheng family to attack them by force. However, it was inappropriate for her to tell Jean Bebe that as if she were really concerned about Xiao Chen. Jean Bebe had been calling him cousin-in-law in the first place, and she did not want Jean Bebe to confirm their relationship. Jean Bebe parked the Beetle in front of the Porsche dealership, and the 3 of them got out of the car together. To be honest, a Beetle was quite inconspicuous in this place. Therefore, the 3 of them did not attract much attention. It was not until they entered the store that the sharp-eyed manager noticed Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen, you're here. He did not know that Xiao Chen had been driven out of the family. Xiao Chen had bought a Porsche 911 in this store, and he often came here for maintenance. Therefore, the manager was quite familiar with him. It was hard for the people in the secular world to get first-hand information about what happened in the noble families. He had thought that Xiao Chen was the young master of the Xiao family and had come to buy a car with 2 beauties. Xiao Chen was somewhat embarrassed. But after thinking for a moment he said, Hee hee. Hello, Manager Wang. I'm here to buy a car. Is there a discount? Manager Wang was stunned. In his opinion, Xiao Chen was not a man who lacked money. The modification cost of his Porsche 911 was more than the cost of the car itself. Why would he ask for a discount? However, Manager Wang seemed to have guessed it. Generally speaking, there were only a few ways for these young masters to show off in front of beauties. They would either spend a lot of money without blinking or they would show how powerful their social connections were, so that people would respect them wherever they went. In Manager Wang's opinion, Xiao Chen should belong to the second way today, which was to let the beauties think that he had a lot of connections and would be respected wherever he went. Thinking of this, Manager Wang quickly said, Yes, Xiao Chen has asked for a discount of 20%. How about it? To be honest, 20% was not a small amount. It was the highest discount that the manager could make the decision on. Xiao Chen was just asking casually. He did not expect that it would be so cheap. It was a pleasant surprise. Thank you, Manager Wang. However, I am not buying a car today. It is my goddess who is buying a car. Xiao Chen did not know what to call Cheng Minjing. Mistress. That sounded a little silly. So, Xiao Chen suddenly thought of the goddess that Elder Heaven Ancestor had mentioned. I understand. Manager Wang did not expect that it was not Xiao Chen who wanted to buy a car. Previously, his attention was focused on Xiao Chen. He thought that the woman behind Xiao Chen was just a random female companion. However, now that he looked carefully, it was not the case at all. Weren't they Cheng Minjing from the Cheng family and Jean Bebe from the Jean family? Manager Wang had a set of information on these young masters and princesses in Songning City. His purpose was not to offend these people. After all, these people were his potential customers. So, when he saw the identity of the 2 beauties, he was shocked. It turns out to be Miss Cheng and Miss Jean. My apologies. May I know what kind of car you are buying? That's the one, the Panamera. Jean Bebe pointed at a car on the display stand not far away and said, It's a nouveau riche color. It can show my identity. Manager Wang almost laughed out loud. Nouveau riche Jean Bebe? However, he did not dare to laugh. Instead, he felt a little embarrassed. Miss Jean, this car was booked by someone else. I have already paid for it. If you want it, I can book another one for you. As for the price, I can apply for a discount. In fact, if it was a car bought by an ordinary person, Manager Wang would have sold it to Jean Bebe. At most, he would give the real buyer a discount. However, this car was booked by a big shot. Manager Wang could not afford to offend him. Just when Jean Bebe wanted to ask if they could discuss it with him, she heard a familiar voice behind her. Chapter 71. Store Manager Wang, is my car ready? I'm here to pick it up. The person who spoke was actually Qin Jinping, who Xiao Chen hadn't seen for a while. Qin Jinping didn't have a car in the past. His status in the Qin family was very weak. Even his father didn't support him. How could he have any pocket money? The only way was to follow behind others and be their lackey. That way they could earn some pocket money. But it was different now. Yesterday he was confirmed as the third-generation heir of the Chen family. All of a sudden he went from a nobody to a big shot. So he came early in the morning to order a sports car. Of course, he entrusted manager Wang to handle the paperwork for the car, so he agreed to pick it up in the afternoon. It's done. But second young Master Chen, these people are also interested in your car. What do you think? Manager Wang couldn't make the decision, so he could only let them discuss it among themselves. In his opinion, Chen Jinping was Xiao Chen's lackey, so he should give him some face. However, what surprised manager Wang was that when Chen Jinping saw Xiao Chen, a sarcastic sneer flashed across his face. Ah, isn't this Xiao Chen? It must be fun being a lackey, isn't it? Xiao Chen's face darkened slightly. He was acting for Chen Jinping. To be honest, Xiao Chen really didn't think highly of Chen Jinping. Chen Jinping, what do you mean? If you know what's good for you, quickly give the car to Miss Cheng. Otherwise, Xiao Chen wanted to laugh when he said these words. He was exactly like the villains in the movies. Ah. Before Xiao Chen could finish, Chen Jinping laughed. I say, Xiao Chen, are you crazy? Who are you now? You're just a lackey. How dare you talk to me like this? If I were you, I would find a hole to hide in. Store manager Wang, give me the keys. I want to drive away. Chen Jinping was feeling good about himself now. Although Qing Minjing and Jean Beibei were here and he had heard the horrible stories about Jean Beibei, in his opinion he was in the right. He had booked the car first. Why should he give it to Jean Beibei? Besides, Jean Beibei was from the second high school and he was from the first high school. The two of them had never met before. What was there to be afraid of? Of course, ignorance was bliss. Store manager Wang was also a little stunned. He did not expect Xiao Chen to be scolded by Chen Jinping like that. Didn't Chen Jinping work behind Xiao Chen in the past? How come there was such a great reversal now? However, store manager Wang was a smart man. Seeing that Xiao Chen did not argue back but stood there with a red face, store manager Wang knew that something must have changed. Also, what Chen Jinping said was not far from the truth. Xiao Chen must have fallen from grace and become Cheng Minjing's or Jean Beibei's lackey. Therefore, store manager Wang dared not piss off Chen Jinping at all. He hurried to give the car keys and a set of documents to Chen Jinping. Second young Master Chen, all the documents have been taken care of. The license plate is TTT 777 as you requested too. You don't have to pay for the license plate. Consider it a favor from me, second young Master Chen. In fact, Chen Jinping did not bargain at all. Not only did he buy a top-quality car, but he also installed a lot of luxurious facilities. It was safe to say that store manager Wang had earned almost 2 million for this car. Although he had bought the license plate at a high price, it was no more than a few $100,000. Chen Jinping said proudly, wow, haha. 777, I like it. A slot machine. It indicates that I can win in everything in the future. You've done a good job. However, you need to change the way you address me. My brother has passed away. I am the heir of the Chen family now. Just call me young Master Chen. Don't call me second young master anymore, Chen Jinping said proudly. The news that Chen Jinping released surprised Xiao Chen, Cheng Minjing and Jean Beibei too. They did not expect that Chen Jinping had been promoted. It was normal that Xiao Chen did not know about it. However, Cheng Minjing and Jean Beibei lived outside. Naturally, their families did not have the time to tell them. Yes, young Master Chen? Surprise flashed in store manager Wang's eyes. No wonder Chen Jinping suddenly became so generous. It turned out that he had become the heir of the Chen family. Then he had to make good use of this customer. Xiao Chen. No, psychic Xiao, I'm leaving. Chen Jinping waved the car keys in his hand and walked to his car proudly. Hee hee, you snatched my car and still acted tough in front of me. Hee hee. Jean Beibei looked at Chen Jinping with a smile. Jean Beibei's smile made Chen Jinping shudder. However, after thinking about it, he did not take it to heart. If I don't offend you, what can you do to me? Do you think you can beat me up? Thinking of this, Chen Jinping paid no attention to Jean Beibei. He got into the nouveau riche golden Panamera, started the car and sped away. Miss Cheng, Miss Jean, Xiao Chen, I'm sorry. You know that I can't afford to offend any of these people from aristocratic families. Store manager Wang said helplessly. However, he had put Xiao Chen at the bottom. Although he was not being disrespectful, it also showed that there was a problem. It's nothing. I'm not interested in that car. Too cheap. Cheng Minjing naturally would not admit her displeasure. Hee hee, I can't afford it even if it's cheap. Jean Beibei rolled her eyes and said to store manager Wang, Hey, do you have the car keys? Give me one. Store manager Wang was stunned. He said with a wry smile, We've given the car keys to Mr. Chen. How can we keep them for ourselves? As long as they look the same, Jean Bebe said. There are some that look the same but we can't use them. They haven't been matched. Store manager Wang explained. Then can you give me one? Jean Bebe asked. That's not a problem. Although a key was expensive, it was only a few thousand yuan. He had earned enough from the car just now. Of course, he did not want to offend Jean Bebe because of such a small matter. Xiao Zhang, go and find a Panamera's key for me. Yes, store manager, an employee answered and went to get the key. Bebe, what do you want this for? Cheng Menjing was a little confused about Jean Bebe's purpose. To show off, Jean Bebe said. Cheng Menjing was a little speechless. Xiaochen was speechless too. Store manager Wang was even more speechless. Jean Bebe took the key and was about to leave. Although Cheng Menjing was confused, she still walked out of the car shop with her. Bebe, are we not going to buy a car? No. I like the Tycoon Jean Bebe version. Jean Bebe was very angry. Qin Jinping had already angered her. It would have been fine if he did not show off, but he did it in front of her. How could Jean Bebe let him go? All right then. Cheng Menjing saw that Jean Bebe was being stubborn, but there was nothing she could do. Coincidentally, she still had an old car at home. It was an Audi A5. Although it was not a very good car, it was not a problem to use it. However, it would have to wait until they returned to the Qing family. They left the car shop. Since Qin Jinping had disturbed their mood, they went home directly. At the gate of the villa, they found that Yi Xiaoya was planting something in the flower bed. However, Yi Xiaoya's cool image was seriously inconsistent with her image as a gardener. Hey, why did you occupy half of the flower bed again? Although Cheng Menjing was not a gardener, she was immediately angry when she saw that Yi Xiaoya occupied half of the flower bed again without greeting her. She was already unhappy when she was in the car shop, and she was even more unhappy when she saw Yi Xiaoya. I'm sorry. You were not at home just now. Yi Xiaoya replied apologetically, which surprised Cheng Menjing quite a bit. She also felt helpless. She had already greeted her and even apologized. What could she do? You think that's enough? This is a public place. You have to compensate us, don't you? Jean Bebe rolled her eyes. I'm told that my cousin-in-law lent you an electric cooker. Do you still need to return it? No thanks. Yi Xiaoya was stunned for a moment. She turned around and finally figured out who her cousin-in-law was. She shook her head quickly. However, she was a bit puzzled. Why did Jean Bebe call Xiaochen cousin-in-law? That's more like it. Jean Bebe returned to the villa in high spirits. Cheng Menjing also felt that her anger had been vented. If she were Jean Bebe, she would probably have no choice but to accept it. She did not have as many weird ideas as Jean Bebe did. Although Xiaochen had gained some benefits, Xiaochen was on her side no matter what. After returning to the villa, Xiaochen went to his room to brew medicine, while Cheng Menjing and Jean Bebe went upstairs to play something. The second dose of medicine was about to be used up. Xiaochen had a headache. The third dose of medicine was not as simple as 10,000 yuan, but 20,000 yuan. Although the breakfast stall was profitable, it was not so profitable, right? Fortunately, the school exam was coming. If he got the first place, he could get a scholarship. However, there was still a gap of 10,000 yuan, which gave Xiaochen a headache. But no matter what, he had to take care of the things in front of him first. Xiaochen poured out the medicine he had brewed and drank it up. Then he began to refine the medicine in his stomach. When Xiaochen was about to refine the medicine calmly, a warm current suddenly surged in Xiaochen's dantian. In the beginning, Xiaochen did not take it seriously. However, as Xiaochen refined the medicine, it became hotter and hotter, which startled Xiaochen immediately. It was not the first time that he refined the medicine, but the feeling this time was completely different. Although he had felt this kind of warmth before, it was really a very comfortable warmth. However, it was completely different today. The heat had become burning, roasting Xiaochen's dantian and tendons. Xiaochen could even feel his body making a sizzling sound when roasting meat, which made Xiaochen very scared. Elder Heaven Ancestor, something is wrong. I feel that I'm going to be cooked. Xiaochen asked anxiously, but he did not dare to stop the circulation of the mental cultivation method. Who knew whether something more horrible would happen if he stopped? Something is indeed wrong. The voice of Elder Heaven Ancestor made Xiaochen's heart cold. What did he mean by, something is indeed wrong? Did something go wrong with my cultivation? Chapter 72. Should I stop now? Xiaochen asked. Don't stop if you don't want to be killed by the backfire. Elder Heaven Ancestor warned him solemnly. Xiao Chen was speechless. If he stopped, he would die. If he didn't stop, he would die. What should he do? This is the sign of breaking through to the third level of the Qi refinement stage. But it shouldn't be. You have only taken 2 doses of medicine. It's not scientific. Elder Heaven Ancestor murmured to himself in confusion. Breaking through? Xiao Chen was relieved. It turns out that I am going to break through. Xiao Chen thought he was going to die. Xiao Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Can't you finish your words in one breath? Not scientific? Since when were cultivators scientific? Thinking of this, Xiao Chen endured the burning sensation on his body and continued to circulate the mantra. Xiao Chen's body was like a piece of charcoal, slowly turning scarlet red, and the clothes on his body also emitted wisps of green smoke. As time went by, the heat on Xiao Chen's body became higher and higher. His clothes also turned into ashes. In Xiao Chen's dantian, there was a huge energy that could destroy the world. It was like the magma before the eruption of a volcano, which could burst out at any time. However, due to these side effects, Xiao Chen could even clearly feel that his divine sense and spiritual strength were strengthening at a very fast speed. He seemed to have a panoramic view of everything in the villa. Cheng Minjing and Jin Beibei were playing tablets in the room, while Yi Xiaoye came downstairs and was walking to his room. What is this girl going to do? Is she a thief? Seeing Yi Xiaoye tiptoeing like a female cat burglar, Xiao Chen felt a little strange. In particular, when she came to his room, Xiao Chen was even more frightened. He was currently cultivating. Could she have discovered something? Currently, Xiao Chen was the only one who knew the secret of his cultivation. He didn't want anyone else to know about it for the time being. However, with his current state, he couldn't hide it even if he wanted to. He simply couldn't stop. The medicine in his abdomen turned into a trace of warmth and flowed into his dantian. Xiao Chen was shocked and anxious. When he returned to his room, he didn't lock the door because there was no need to. The eldest miss never came to his room. But who would have thought that Yi Xiaoye would come? Boom. Just when Xiao Chen didn't know what to do, he felt a loud noise coming from his body. The heat energy in his dantian suddenly erupted like a volcano, pouring into the meridians of his entire body. Warmth flowed through his body. At this moment, Xiao Chen suddenly felt that his body was a lot lighter, as if it was completely different. It was as if the current Xiao Chen was no longer the Xiao Chen of the past. That feeling was like a butterfly breaking out of its cocoon, a carp leaping over the dragon gate. In that instant, the heat disappeared without a trace. At this moment, the door of Xiao Chen's room was pushed open. Yi Xiaoye looked into the room with a frown. When she saw Xiao Chen's naked body, she blushed and screamed. Ah! Yi Xiaoye screamed and closed the door of Xiao Chen's room with a bang. Are you streaking? Hearing Yi Xiaoye scream, Cheng Minjing and Jin Beibei were a bit puzzled. However, they ran downstairs quickly to watch the fun and saw Yi Xiaoye standing at the door of Xiao Chen's room with a flushed face. Her chest was heaving up and down and no one knew what she was doing. Hey, what are you doing? Are you trying to scare me to death? Do you have any sense of civility? This is everyone's villa, not yours. Cheng Minjing was angry when she saw Yi Xiaoye, but she was happy when she saw Yi Xiaoye's abnormal behavior. Control your servant. Doesn't she know how to behave? Streaking in the house? Yi Xiaoye snorted and said coldly. Streaking in the house? Cheng Minjing was stunned. Xiao Chen was naked at home? Judging from Yi Xiaoye's look, it didn't seem that she was talking nonsense. At this moment, Xiao Chen had changed his clothes. He pushed the door open and walked out. Hearing Yi Xiaoye's words, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I said I was changing my clothes in the room. You suddenly pushed the door open and scolded me? Don't you change your clothes in your room? Last time I saw you, you seemed to be wearing a yoga suit, right? Not this one, right? Yi Xiaoye was a bit confused just now, and her mind couldn't keep up. At this moment, after hearing Xiao Chen's words, she remembered that Xiao Chen was naked in his room. Was there anything wrong with that? He did push the door open and enter by himself. Thinking of this, Yi Xiaoye felt a bit embarrassed. Why did she feel that she was complaining first? Cousin Minjing, it turns out that this chick is a prostitute. You should be careful. I heard that many prostitutes are attracted to both men and women. We are still virgins. Don't be harmed by her. Jin Beibei stared at Yi Xiaoye with an unkind expression. I just felt that your room was very hot, so I came here to see if there was any problem. Yi Xiaoye stammered. Just now, she sensed a special energy which was similar to when she made a breakthrough in cultivation. She was very surprised, so she came here to have a look. She felt that it should be Xiao Chen's room, but she didn't expect that Xiao Chen was naked. As a result, her mind went blank when she pushed the door open and she even forgot her purpose of coming here. When she calmed down, the special energy had already disappeared. When Xiao Chen pushed open the door of his room, a strong smell of medicine drifted out. I was decocting medicine in my room. Of course it's hot. Thank you for the electric cooker. Well, I see. Then I'm leaving. Yi Xiaoya looked at Xiao Chen and felt that there was nothing special about him. She shook her head inwardly. Was her feeling wrong? Cousin Minjing, look at this prostitute. She seems to feel guilty. We have to be more careful in the future. Jin Beibei said. Cheng Minjing naturally didn't think that Yi Xiaoya was a prostitute. She always felt that Yi Xiaoya was a strange person. However, it was quite refreshing to see her being humiliated in front of Jin Beibei. Xiao Chen, what does she want to do? Cheng Minjing looked at Xiao Chen and felt that he seemed to be a bit different all of a sudden. However, she really couldn't tell what was different. How would I know? Xiao Chen shrugged with a bitter smile. Maybe it's because the door of my room is too hot. Yi Xiaoya thinks that something is going on inside. Oh. Cheng Minjing nodded and said, lock the door next time. Yi Xiaoya is weird. She doesn't work or go to school during the day. Who knows where she is from? Got it. Yi. Xiao Chen smiled. In fact, he also felt that Yi Xiaoya was quite weird. Not only was there a bitter fruit in the fridge, but she also planted a lot of herbs outside the villa. He wondered what she was for. Cheng Minjing did not say anything else and went upstairs with Jin Beibei. Xiao Chen, on the other hand, returned to his room and sat on the bed. He sensed the situation in the villa with his mind again, but the panoramic feeling was gone. Xiao Chen could no longer see what the people in the villa were doing, but he could still hear their voices clearly. Xiao Chen was more or less disappointed. The feeling just now was too good. If only he could peep at the lady when she was taking a bath. What was he thinking? Xiao Chen felt that he was afraid that the lady would drown and that he could save her in time. That was all. Elder Heaven Ancestor, Xiao Chen was not sure about his status. Xiao Chen, something is really wrong with you. You are already a cultivator in the 3rd level of the refinement stage. Don't you feel anything? Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice was full of weirdness. I do feel something is different. Xiao Chen nodded. However, it's not that much stronger. I only felt good when I broke through to the 3rd level. That's when you broke through. It's much stronger. You are just in the 3rd level of the refinement stage. How much stronger do you want to be? Elder Heaven Ancestor said angrily, I took 5 sets of medicinal materials to break through to the 3rd level of the refinement stage. I was already a genius. But you only took 2 sets. So I'm a super genius in the universe? Xiao Chen said. It's a sign of Qigong deviation, Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Puff, ahem. Xiao Chen thought he was a super genius. How could it be a sign of Qigong deviation? Forget it. What you cultivate is different from what I cultivate. I cultivate forward while you cultivate backward. That's why it's possible that you don't even use a single medicinal herb. But if this goes on, it's hard to say whether or not you'll go berserk. Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice carried a hint of worry. But there is no turning back. No matter what, you can only continue to practice like this. Then can you not scare me in the future? Can you give me some encouragement? I'm afraid of Qigong deviation every day. Xiao Chen was a little speechless. No matter what, it was already an established fact. It couldn't be changed. Why was he still trying to scare him? Then you are a genius. Elder Heaven Ancestor encouraged him. Xiao Chen. In any case, Xiao Chen was now a real Qi refinement stage level 3 cultivator. His strength was equivalent to a level 3 inner force warrior. In Elder Heaven Ancestor's words, he was slightly stronger. This filled Xiao Chen with fighting spirit. Among the younger generation of the aristocratic families in Songning City, the most powerful ones were level 3 inner force warriors. Of course, there might be some who hid their strength. But on the surface, level 3 inner force warriors were already very powerful, like Qin Jinkuan. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been favored by the Shen family. Xiao Chen really wanted to punch the wall. However, this villa was not his, and he could not afford to pay for it if the wall was broken. Furthermore, he did not want to attract too much attention, so he could only find an opportunity to give it a try. Xiao Chen, you seem to be very confident now. Elder Heaven Ancestor saw Xiao Chen's eagerness to try. Chapter 73. In the past, I didn't have the strength, so I couldn't find a way to hide. But now, I'm afraid that if I meet those 2 warriors again, I can kill them, right? Xiao Chen said confidently. If it's one-on-one you can, but if it's 2-on-1 you'll definitely die. Elder Heaven Ancestor poured cold water on him. F***ck, then what kind of advantage does a cultivator have? Xiaoqin rolled his eyes. Only in other aspects. For example, you can predict the opponent's movements. When the opponent is about to punch, you can capture this information the moment he lifts his arm, and then react accordingly. Elder Heaven Ancestor said, in this way you'll have the upper hand. In the third level of refinement stage, your eyes and ears are more intelligent, and your perception is more powerful. Even if you don't deliberately observe, you'll still be aware of your opponent's every move. Of course, it's still impossible to have a powerful perception like when you just broke through. If that's the case, even if I'm facing a stage 4 inner force martial artist, I can predict his moves in advance. Even if I can't win, I can still protect myself? Xiaoqin asked, but didn't you already have this advantage when you were at stage 2 of the Qi refinement stage? I have reached the second level of the Qi refinement stage, but it's not that obvious. The most important thing is your body's agility. Don't you feel that you've been reborn? Elder Heaven Ancestor said, for cultivators, the second level of refinement stage and the third level of refinement stage is a watershed. It can be said that as long as you have some spiritual roots, you can cultivate. But it's not so easy to step into the third level from the second level of refinement stage. This will eliminate most people. Even if these people drink the elixir for a year, they still won't be able to break through to the third level. So that's how it is. Xiaoqin nodded. Indeed, his body now felt as light as a swallow. He was much more flexible than before. He tried to wave his fist and kick a few times. Suddenly, his face showed an astonished expression. He was performing a set of martial arts fist and leg techniques. However, the movements that he couldn't perform before were now easily performed. Although it seemed like a few casual punches and kicks, even a 7th or 8th level inner force warrior couldn't do it casually. This was a very complex and strict test of the body's coordination and flexibility. Xiaoqin didn't expect that his body's coordination and flexibility had reached a level that surprised him. Now, after you predict the enemy's moves, you can instantly order your body to complete some incredible movements to avoid the attack. But a second level of refinement stage can't do it. Even if you predict it, you won't be able to avoid it. Elder Heaven Ancestor explained. So that's how it is. That's right, didn't they say that every level of a cultivator has a special ability? Then, what kind of special ability does a third level of refinement stage have? Xiaoqin was looking forward to this. Who told you that every level has a special ability? But the third level of refinement stage does have it. I've already transmitted these abilities to your mind. You can check it yourself. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. That's right. Xiaoqin quickly searched his mind for the description of a cultivator's special ability given to him by Elder Heaven Ancestor. He found the third level of refinement stage. Illusion, these two words reflected in Xiaoqin's eyes. But what is this illusion? Elder Heaven Ancestor, how do I use this illusion? The so-called illusion is actually an illusion that gives people an illusion, similar to magic or mirage. Elder Heaven Ancestor said, this is commonly used in battles. Not all cultivators can use illusion. You have this ability because you have cultivated the Heaven's Fortune battle art. This ability is also very powerful. For example, when you are fighting with someone, you can create an illusion of punching, but in fact, you are punching. In this way, if the opponent is confused by you, your goal will be achieved. *CK, that's awesome. After listening, Xiaoqin was a little surprised. Then, in the future, even if I meet a stronger opponent, I can still use the illusion. As long as he is fooled, I can sneak attack him? That's impossible. The illusion can only affect people with the same strength as you. If the opponent is slightly stronger, it may work, but if the opponent is too strong, it will basically be useless. Elder Heaven Ancestor said, moreover, the duration of the effect can't be too long. Depending on the strength of the opponent, it will only be a few seconds or a few seconds. And you have to pay a lot of physical strength and true qi. You can't use all your strength to constantly create the illusion, right? That's true. After listening, Xiaoqin suddenly felt disappointed. In that case, this thing is similar to the ability to affect the mind of others. There is nothing special. That's not the same. Elder Heaven Ancestor explained, affecting the mind of others is a passive influence. You can only affect one person at a time. But the illusion is an active influence. When you create the illusion, the number of people who see it will affect the number of people. The two are not the same concept. Is that so? Xiaoqin nodded. But it seems a bit useless. If the opponent is too strong, it will be useless. If the opponent is not strong, I don't need to use it. You are only at the third level of refinement stage. What good ability can you have? Don't be too ambitious. It's already good to have achieved what you have now. When you become a higher level cultivator, think about other things. Yi Xiaoya felt that Xiao Qin seemed to be perfunctory with her. There's something wrong with my body. I couldn't cultivate internal strength since I was a child. My father gave me a prescription and asked me to take it often. Maybe I can cultivate internal strength and become a martial artist. Xiao Qin said, this is not a secret. If you are from Songning City, you will know the name of the useless young master of the Xiao family. Yi Xiaoya listened to Xiao Qin's words. She felt that she seemed to be a little bit narrow-minded. It seemed that Xiao Qin was quite famous. Otherwise, these things could be easily found out. Xiao Qin didn't need to lie. Is there any effect? Not yet. Xiao Qin shook his head. In fact, Xiao Qin didn't lie to Yi Xiaoya. He really hadn't cultivated internal strength, but he had cultivated qi. Oh. Yi Xiaoya hesitated. She seemed to have something to say, but she didn't say it. She lowered her head and continued watering. She ignored Xiao Qin. If Yi Xiaoya didn't talk to him, Xiao Qin naturally wouldn't take the initiative to look for Yi Xiaoya. In Xiao Qin's view, Yi Xiaoya was a very strange person. Since she had something like the bitter fruit, she obviously knew about it. Then the probability of her discovering his secret had increased a lot. Xiao Qin couldn't let her discover anything. Quickly running to the mysterious pharmacy, Xiao Qin pushed the door and went in. Hey, it's you again. Hong Yin didn't expect Xiao Qin to come again. Did he come to buy that strange medicine? However, although she was curious, she didn't ask much. Instead, she said, wait, I'll call Grandpa. Thank you. Xiao Qin nodded politely. After all, the grandfather and grandson of this pharmacy were good to him. Young man, you're here to buy medicine again? However, this time it's a deal, it's 20,000 yuan. The old man walked out from behind, glanced at Xiao Qin and said. Chapter 74. Grandpa, this time Xiao Qin hesitated and said, the medicine I want to buy this time is different from the previous 2 times. Different? The old man's eyes flashed with curiosity. Let me have a look. Xiao Qin handed the prescription that he had copied to the old man and said respectfully, Grandpa, can you help me take a look? How much does this medicine cost? The old man's eyes glanced at the prescription. He clicked his tongue and raised his eyebrows slightly. Young man, this medicine is not cheap. I know. There are 2 bitter fruit. Xiao Qin nodded with a bitter smile. To be honest, in his opinion, if the previous medicine cost 20,000, this medicine would cost at least 40,000. In this medicine, in addition to the bitter fruit, this bone-quenching grass is not cheap either. The old man pointed to Xiao Qin's prescription and said, this bone-quenching grass is sold for 100,000. 100,000? Xiao Qin had an urge to cry. He thought that 40,000 would be enough. Now it became 140,000 all of a sudden. Where can I get this money? However, Xiao Qin was too embarrassed to bring up the matter of discounts again. This is a medicine used by high-level martial artists when they train their physique. What are you using it for? Are you also a martial artist? The old man's eyes were like a sharp arrow shooting at Xiao Qin. He wanted to see Xiao Qin's background. However, in the eyes of Mr. Qin, Xiao Qin was not a martial artist. He did not have the aura of a martial artist. In other words, he hid it too well. Of course, if Xiao Qin could hide his strength so well at his current age, it meant that he was really terrifying. A high-level martial artist trains his physique? Xiao Qin was also stunned after hearing it. He was not a martial artist. Why would he use something that was used to train martial arts? Martial artists use the bone-quenching grass to temper their bones to increase the hardness of their bones. Cultivators use the bone-quenching grass to temper their bones to lay the foundation for higher levels of cultivation in the future. The elder heaven ancestor's voice rang in Xiao Qin's ears, explaining to Xiao Qin, both of them have similar uses, they both increase the quality of the body. So that was the case. Xiao Qin nodded his head secretly. However, Xiao Qin's previous days made old Mr. Qin hesitate. Looking at Xiao Qin's appearance, he didn't look like an advanced martial artist. Moreover, which advanced martial artist would be so poor? Even if I give you all the other herbs, the bitter fruit will be sold for 20,000 yuan each, and I'll give you a 20% discount on the bone-tempering grass. It's still 120,000 yuan in total. This is not a small number. Are you sure you want to buy the herbs on this prescription? Mr. Qin looked at Xiao Qin. If this prescription is useless to you, I think you'd better not waste your money. 120,000 yuan? Xiao Chen clenched his teeth. Old mister, I will try my best to gather enough. See you later. After saying that, Xiao Chen turned around and left the pharmacy without saying anything else. He knew that Mr. Chen wanted to get information from him, but there were some things that Xiao Chen couldn't say to anyone. What an interesting kid. Mr. Chen looked at Xiao Chen's back and smiled faintly. Grandpa Chen, isn't the bone-tempering grass 1,000,000 yuan each? Why is it selling for 100,000 yuan with a 20% discount? Hong Yen felt that Grandpa Chen took special care of Xiao Chen. Our Hong Merchant Association can sell the same thing for 10,000 yuan or 1,000,000 yuan. Mr. Chen smiled. Grandpa Chen, do you mean that we treat people according to their preferences? But doesn't our Hong Merchant Association uphold honor? Hong Yen was a little puzzled. Honor means that we must find a way to do what we promised others. Mr. Chen said, as for the price, sometimes it's a kind of emotional investment. Hong Yen understands. Hong Yen nodded, not really understanding. In a private room of a small bar near the second middle school, Lu Jinming and Yu Xiaochuan sat opposite each other. Young Master Kun, didn't you say that you would help me kill that Xiao Chen? This kid, I get annoyed when I see him. When can I kill him? Lu Jinming was really a little anxious. He didn't kill Xiao Chen on his side, so he could only pin his hope on Yu Xiaochuan. Don't be impatient. Yu Xiaochuan waved and said. To be honest, he didn't want Xiao Chen to die. It was not easy to send the fat girl Tang Tang out. If Xiao Chen died, wouldn't Tang Tang come back again? However, it was impossible for him to tell this kind of thing to Lu Jinming. If he said it, Lu Jinming would definitely despise him. How could he be his younger brother? Therefore, he had to pay attention to strategy. Fortunately, he was a person who planned before taking action. He had already investigated the background of Xiao Chen. Lanyi, do you know who this Xiao Chen is? Yu Xiaochuan asked faintly. Who? Lu Jinming was stunned. Who can he be? What kind of background does he have? He is Qing Minjing's fiancé. Yu Xiaochuan dropped a bombshell. Puff. Lu Jinming just drank a mouthful of beer, and he spat it directly on Yu Xiaochuan's face. Yu Xiaochuan originally wanted to show off, but he didn't expect to be spat on his face. He suddenly became speechless. Young Master Kun, I'm sorry that I was scared by you. Your joke is really... Lu Jinming picked up a tissue apologetically. Let me help you wipe it? No need. Yu Xiaochuan waved his hand and said, I didn't lie to you. Xiao Chen's identity is the young master of the Xiao family. What? Lu Jinming's eyes widened, and he looked at Yu Xiaochuan incredulously. Young Master Kun, are you saying that Xiao Chen is the good-for-nothing who was kicked out of the Xiao family? Yes. Yu Xiaochuan nodded. Although Yu Xiaochuan hadn't investigated the matter of Xiao Chen and Cheng Minjing living together, Xiao Chen's identity was easy to investigate, especially for the children of aristocratic families like them. So Xiao Chen can't be killed. His identity is very sensitive. The Cheng family didn't do it. If you do it, won't you embarrass the Cheng family? Especially when you are still pursuing Cheng Minjing. That's true. I really didn't expect that Xiao Chen is the young master of the Xiao family. I thought he was a canon from the mountains. Lu Jinming was surprised. No wonder Cheng Minjing was so excited when she saw me beating Xiao Chen. It turned out to be this reason. Lu Jinming thought that Cheng Minjing wanted Xiao Chen to be unlucky. So Xiao Chen can't die yet. But if you want to vent your anger, I can help you. Yu Xiaochuan said. But if this guy doesn't die, can I catch up with Cheng Minjing? When Lu Jinming heard Xiao Chen's identity, he wanted Xiao Chen to die even more. He has been with Tang Tang. What does it have to do with Cheng Minjing? Yu Xiaochuan frowned. Look at how poor he is. He can only find Tang Tang, a broken shoe that I don't want. Do you think Cheng Minjing will like him? That's true. Lu Jinming thought that Yu Xiaochuan's words were quite reasonable. Then how can I vent my anger? What does Xiao Chen lack the most now? As far as I know, Xiao Chen and Tang Tang go to the morning market every day to sell breakfast. I think he is poor to a certain extent. Yu Xiaochuan said, at this time if we let him spend a lot of money, will he vomit blood because of heartache? Sometimes, a mental blow is more painful than killing a person. We have to torture him to feel good. That's true, but how can we let him spend money? Lu Jinming asked modestly. Well, you ask Xiao Chen to come out and tell him that I want to treat him to a meal. At that time you can see my arrangements. Yu Xiaochuan ordered. A meal? Young Master Kun, do you want to order a table full of expensive dishes and then let Xiao Chen pay the bill? This won't do. This trick won't work. Xiao Qin, that brat is very cunning. I used this trick last time and in the end I lost hundreds of thousands. Lu Jinming felt his heart ache just thinking about it. Lu Zi, why don't you say that you can't do it? What if I do it? Come closer, I'll talk to you. Yu Xiaochuan waved to Lu Jinming. Lu Jinming quickly came over and listened to Yu Xiaochuan's plan. Lu Jinming suddenly slapped the table and said, "This is good. Let's see if Xiao Chen can still act shamelessly. Young Master Kun is more skilled. And okay, you can go." Yu Xiaochuan nodded proudly. In the early morning of the next day, Xiao Chen got up to make money. 120,000 yuan. Chapter 75. Hee Auntie Sue, okay, please wait a moment. Tang Tang responded with a smile. It's okay, I'm not in a hurry. Auntie Sue nodded, and then chatted with a woman who was buying fried dough sticks next to her. The two people obviously knew each other and were familiar with each other. Oh, old Sue, isn't your husband a taxi driver? There's a good thing, here's an advertisement list for you. What advertisement list? The woman named Old Sue took the advertisement list and glanced at it. Dog search notice? Bonus of 100,000? Is this for real? So much money? A rich woman playing mahjong in the mahjong house next to my hotel lost her dog, and she was so worried. What's 100,000 for rich people? In their eyes, dogs are more important than people. Auntie Sue nagged. This old woman also wrongly said that my guest took away her dog, and she even went to the police. What kind of person is she? Is she great just because she's rich? What dog? 100,000. The speaker was unintentional, but the listener was interested. Xiao Qin, who was frying the fried dough sticks, shook his hand slightly, raised his head, and pretended to ask as if nothing had happened. I don't know what dog it is. These rich people really don't care about money. How long do you think it will take to earn 100,000 by selling breakfast here? These people will be thrown out in the blink of an eye. Auntie Sue said, showing the advertisement list in her hand and shaking it in front of Xiao Chen's eyes. It turned out that it was an adult Tibetan Mastiff. No wonder the bonus was 100,000. It was impossible to get so much money for an ordinary puppy. Xiao Chen glanced at it and remembered the contact number on it. But after hearing Auntie Sue's words, he looked at Tang Tang and smiled bitterly. 100,000 was nothing for Xiao Chen and Tang Tang in the past. However, both of them were people who could take it and let it go. Tang Tang smiled and said, the money is his own. We can't control how he wants to spend it. Auntie Sue, here's your fried dough sticks and soy milk. That's right, little Tang, here's the money. Auntie Sue took the fried dough sticks and soy milk and quickly left the breakfast stall. 100,000. An imperceptible excitement flashed through Xiao Chen's eyes. Looking for a dog? If he didn't have the experience of finding a bracelet for Miss Hua, Xiao Chen wouldn't dare to accept this task, but now Xiao Chen felt that he should give it a try. In the blink of an eye, it was time to pack up. Xiao Chen and Tang Tang parked the tricycle and went to school. But when they were about to reach the school gate, Xiao Chen suddenly said, by the way, Tang Tang, I forgot to bring a pencil and eraser. I'll buy them. You go to school first. Okay, but at this time, the culture and education store should not be open yet. You have to go to the morning market street to buy. Tang Tang said. Don't worry, isn't the exam starting at 10 o'clock today? There's still time. Xiao Chen smiled and said, help me take my bag back first. Today was the day of the mock test. The test would be held at 10 o'clock. There would be one subject in the morning and one subject in the afternoon. There was still one more day tomorrow. Okay, don't be late. Don't forget that you are going for the scholarship. Tang Tang reminded him. Don't worry, I can't be late for the sake of money. Xiao Chen nodded. After saying goodbye to Tang Tang, Xiao Chen ran back to the morning market street. He was not going to buy a pencil and eraser. How could he forget such a big thing as the exam? He still counted on the scholarship to buy medicine, although it was a drop in the bucket for him now. However, Xiao Chen did not directly contact the rich woman who lost the dog. Instead, he went to a small stall in the morning market street, intending to buy a mask. Looking at the dazzling array of masks, Xiao Chen looked at his own attire and casually picked a white fox mask. Just now, Xiao Chen did not take off his chef's suit, but he did not want to expose his identity as a chef, so he got a white fox mask with the white coat on his body, which was quite cool. The chef's outfit that Tang Tang got from the internet was actually not a real chef's outfit, but a cosplay style which was very tight. With this mask, no one would think of him as a chef. Xiao Chen did not intend to expose his identity for the time being. He could sell breakfast, But if he helped someone find the dog and found it, what would the Qing family think? Would they doubt him? These were the things that Xiaoqin must consider. After buying the mask, Xiaoqin bought a SIM card from a stall that sold network cards. Now there were a lot of these foreign phone cards, such as a 5 yuan package, a few hundred minutes of text messages, a few hundred megabytes of data, and so on. Although he did not know where it came from, this person had been selling it in the morning market for so long, and no one came back to ask for a refund. Instead, there were many repeat customers, which showed that it was not fake. Xiaoqin spent 200 yuan to buy a card, asked the person to help cut it into the size of an apple, and stuffed it into his iPhone. Although Xiaoqin was famous in the area where he sold breakfast, the back of the morning market street was selling daily necessities. There was no intersection with those who sold breakfast in the front, so naturally, it was impossible for them to know Xiaoqin. After that, Xiaoqin found a place where there was no one, put on the white fox mask on his face, and dialed the number of the rich woman. "Who is calling me so early? I'm so sleepy." It took a long time for the old woman to answer the phone. Obviously, she had not woken up yet. "Do you want to find the dog?" The rich woman felt that Xiaoqin looked a little weird. "Can you take off your mask? Are you looking for the dog or me?" Xiaoqin asked coldly. "Of course I'm looking for the dog." If it were any other time, the rich woman might have chased Xiaoqin out. She must have thought that Xiaoqin was a liar. However, the dog had been missing for a day and there was still no news. Her husband was the boss of a company. He had many social engagements and had mistresses outside. She didn't have children yet. She only had Blackie to rely on. It could be said that Blackie was like her son. Hence, she wouldn't give up as long as there was a glimmer of hope. "Okay, but we have to talk about the price first," said Xiaoqin. "Don't worry. Since I released the advertisement, I won't go back on my word," the rich woman said quickly. She didn't care about the mask anymore. "As for the price, 100,000 is a little low." Xiaoqin shook his head. "Then, how much does Mr. White Fox want?" The rich woman frowned slightly. She wondered if this person was a liar. 120,000, said Xiaoqin. "Ah, 120,000? Sure, no problem." The rich woman thought that Xiaoqin would ask for 1,000,000 or 800,000. She didn't expect that he would only add 20,000 on top of the original amount. This was nothing to her, so she immediately agreed. Xiaoqin looked at the rich woman's straightforward look. He wondered if he was too kind and asked for too little. However, this was his first detective mission. It was okay to ask for less. He was afraid that if he asked for too much, the rich woman would give up. "Let me see where your dog usually lives," said Xiaoqin. "Sure." The rich woman nodded and brought Xiaoqin into the mansion. They came to a pet room on the first floor. "It's here." Xiaoqin pretended to check the puppy's room for a while. In reality, he was just memorizing the puppy's scent and the puppy's photo hanging in the room. "Let's go. Take me to the place where you threw the puppy." In this way they couldn't keep it nor could they sell it. Although it was a good thing, they didn't have the fortune to enjoy it. "I'm sorry. We did pick up a Tibetan Mastiff. But you know, the owners of the other pet shops also know about this. I'm afraid that they sent someone to trick me. If they want to cheat the dog, we have to confirm it first." Zhang Zian said. "In a while you have to recognize it. If the puppy doesn't recognize you, then don't blame me for not giving it to you." The boss was a smart person. After seeing the situation clearly, he immediately said so. Of course, the so-called owner of the nearby pet shops knew about this was completely fabricated. Who would let outsiders know about this kind of thing? The reason he said that was to absolve himself from the blame. Of course. Xiaoqin smiled and nodded. Of course, he also knew the thoughts of the pet shop owner, but he didn't point it out. Soon, the boss came downstairs with a black Tibetan Mastiff. Sure enough, the dog was hidden upstairs. If Xiaoqin wanted to find it, it wouldn't be so easy. "Mrs. Wang, this is 50,000 yuan. The driver, old Lu, came back quickly with a black plastic bag in his hand. He handed it to the rich woman. "Little Blackie." The rich woman signaled old Lu to give the money to the pet shop owner. She happily went to find the Tibetan Mastiff. When the Tibetan Mastiff saw Mrs. Wang, it was also very happy. The pet shop owner took the money and smiled. Thank you. There's dog food here, I'll give you some." "Well, I should go." Xiaoqin was still anxious about the exam. He naturally didn't want to stay here any longer. Yes. Thank you, Detective White Fox. Old Lu, hurry up and give the money to this hero. Hero, where are you going? Do you want us to give you a ride? The rich woman saw that Xiao Chen was really very capable, so her attitude towards him was naturally very good. Alright, then you can send me to somewhere near Songning Second High School. There's a client waiting for me there. Xiao Chen looked at the time. Although he could run there by himself, it was naturally better to have someone send him. Okay. The rich woman quickly signaled old Lu to drive. In the car, Xiao Chen sat in the back holding a black plastic bag with 120,000 yuan in it. He was a little emotional. Finally enough? However, this was only the price of a medicine. Detective White Fox, do you have a business card? If I need anything in the future, can I still look for you? The rich woman asked very respectfully. You can call me. Xiao Chen casually said. He didn't have a business card and he didn't want to expose his identity. Okay. The rich woman nodded. Seeing that Xiao Chen didn't like to talk, the rich woman could only shut up. When they arrived at Songning Second High School, Xiao Chen got out of the car. After the rich woman's car drove away, he took off his mask and chef's uniform, stuffed them into his school bag and walked in the direction of the classroom. This morning Lu Zhiming looked very anxious. He was waiting for Xiao Chen, but when Tang Tang came he still didn't see Xiao Chen's figure. He couldn't help but feel a little anxious. Tang Tang, have you seen Xiao Chen? Lu Zhiming thought in his heart. Could it be that Xiao Chen's academic performance was too bad and he couldn't come for the exam? After knowing that Xiao Chen was the abandoned son of the Xiao family, Lu Zhiming naturally thought so. Xiao Chen? Why are you looking for him? Tang Tang naturally didn't think that Lu Zhiming was kind enough to care about why his classmate didn't come to school. There must be something wrong with everything. When did Lu Zhiming pay attention to Xiao Chen? There is indeed something, but it is a good thing. Lu Zhiming saw that Tang Tang was very vigilant, so he didn't say anything more. Some things must be said in front of Xiao Chen. They waited until 9 o'clock when the exam was about to start and Xiao Chen came late. As soon as Lu Zhiming saw Xiao Chen's figure, he immediately rushed over, which shocked Xiao Chen. Is this kid sick? Is he going to trouble me in the classroom? Isn't this student Xiao Chen? Good morning. Lu Zhiming trotted all the way to Xiao Chen and said with a smile. Morning? It's already morning? What's the matter? Xiao Chen looked at Lu Zhiming in confusion. Did this kid take the wrong medicine? Xiao Chen, the previous things are all misunderstandings. Don't care about it. As he said, Lu Zhiming put his arm around Xiao Chen's shoulder and walked out of the classroom. Obviously, he didn't want the people in the classroom to hear their conversation. Lu Zhiming, did you get a brain puncture? Xiao Chen frowned and naturally didn't believe Lu Zhiming's words. Or did you not treat enough last time? Do you still want to treat me to dinner? Chapter 77. Yes, you guessed it. I'm going to invite you to dinner. Lu Zhiming nodded with a smile on his face. Xiao Chen looked at Lu Zhiming inexplicably. Hadn't this person been ripped off enough? You don't have to be surprised. I already know your identity. Are you the young master of the Xiao family? Don't worry, we are at the same level. It's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. I'm not afraid to tell you that I hang out with young Master Yu and young Master Kun at school. It was young Master Kun who told me about your identity. Young Master Kun said that he has a good relationship with you. He asked me to invite you to dinner to solve the misunderstanding. Lu Zhiming said. Yu Xiaochuan? Xiao Chen didn't expect that Yu Xiaochuan had already known his identity. However, Yu Xiaochuan investigated him. Xiao Chen could understand that Yu Xiaochuan wanted to get rid of Tang Tang. Now that Xiao Chen appeared in front of Tang Tang, it was just in line with Yu Xiaochuan's wishes. Especially after investigating Xiao Chen's background, he found that Xiao Chen and Tang Tang were well matched. Maybe he was so happy now. In fact, for this kind of hypocrite, Xiao Chen was very disdainful. He would rather be a real villain. However, this kind of situation where his identity was exposed was not what Xiao Chen wanted to see. The purpose of his transfer was to start over in a new environment. Now that Yu Xiaochuan had exposed him, this kid wouldn't spread it out, would he? That would disrupt Xiao Chen's original plan of making a fortune and practicing in secret. Yes, I saved you that day because of young Master Kun. Otherwise, how could I save you if we had a conflict? Lu Zhiming said, how about it, Xiao Chen, give me face? After the exam in the morning, I'll treat you and Tang Tang to a big meal at noon. I'll treat you and Tang Tang. Tang Tang is going too? Xiao Chen was stunned. Yeah, since Tang Tang is your girlfriend, let's go together. In fact, it was Yu Xiaochuan's suggestion. He wanted to confirm the relationship between Xiao Chen and Tang Tang. But for Lu Jinming, one more person was not a big deal. Anyway, he was doomed to fail today's dinner. Even if he invited 100 people, it would not cost him a penny. Xiao Chen wanted to refuse, but when he thought of Tang Tang's pitiful look, he nodded directly. Okay, since you are so sincere, then we will go. Ah, then it's settled. See you after the exam. When Lu Jinming saw that his invitation was successful, he was very happy. This time he could make Xiao Chen cry. Xiao Chen entered the classroom and sat next to Tang Tang. Tang Tang glanced at him and asked, "What does Lu Jinming want from you?" "He wants to treat us to a big meal at noon," Xiao Chen said. Treat us? Is he sick? Tang Tang felt that it was quite incredible. He knows my identity. Xiao Chen lowered his voice and said, "But he mentioned you Xiao Chuan and said that you Xiao Chuan would accompany him. I think this has something to do with this guy." "Does Lu Jinming know your identity?" Tang Tang frowned slightly and then said with some disgust, "You Xiao Chuan is such a schemer. I guess he is using the matter between us to break off the engagement with me." "Just break it off. Anyway, you have nothing good to do with him." Xiao Chen didn't care. Freeloading. Only a fool would not go with him. "That's true." Tang Tang nodded. After that, Tang Tang stopped talking and began to read the book seriously. Tang Tang's academic performance was not bad, but when Lu Jinming suddenly saw through his identity, it disrupted Xiao Chen's original plan to get the first place. How could Xiao Chen get the first place in the exam in the past? If he got the first place this time, would he be suspected? This was what Xiao Chen was most worried about. And now, 10,000 yuan was really nothing in Xiao Chen's eyes. A medicine was at least 100,000 yuan, and 10,000 yuan was just a drop in the bucket. Thinking of this, Xiao Chen decided to take it one step at a time. This time he could get the same result as Tang Tang. Even if Lu Jinming was suspicious, he must think that he copied Tang Tang's results. When he really became a cultivator at the 4th level of the refinement stage, he would not be afraid of him. Even if he was suspicious, Xiao Chen would have the ability to protect himself. It should be known that there were not many young warriors at the 4th level of the inner force in the aristocratic families. Buzz. Xiao Chen's mobile phone received a text message. Xiao Chen took it out and glanced at it. It was from the young lady. "Why did Lu Jinming call you just now?" Cheng Minjing's concern surprised Xiao Chen. He did not expect that she would care about him so much. Of course, in Xiao Chen's view, it did not mean that the young lady had a good impression of him. It was just her kindness. However, what made Xiao Chen not know whether to laugh or cry was that after Cheng Minjing sent this message, she sent another one. "I'm just reminding you to report everything to me. As a servant, you have to be aware of this." Humph. Looking at the text message, Xiao Chen could imagine Cheng Minjing's arrogant look. He replied, "Lu Jinming is going to treat me and Tang Tang to a big meal at noon." After the text message was sent, there was no reply. However, on Cheng Minjing's side, Jean Bebe was looking at Cheng Minjing's mobile phone. "Cousin Minjing, I want to have a big meal too." "What do you want to eat?" "He didn't invite you." Cheng Minjing was a bit annoyed. Why did he invite Xiao Chen and Tang Tang? What was the relationship between Xiao Chen and Tang Tang? Didn't he know that he was my servant? If he wanted to treat someone, he should have invited me, right? Of course, if Lu Jinming knew Cheng Minjing's thoughts, he would probably be overjoyed. He wanted to treat Cheng Minjing to a meal, but he didn't have a chance to do so. The first subject was Chinese. Although Xiao Chen had done a lot of revision questions recently, he didn't dare to go too far this time. He checked the answers on Tang Tang's test paper with his spiritual mind and estimated the score. Then he gave a score of about the same as Tang Tang's. Of course, Xiao Chen wouldn't make the same mistake as Tang Tang, because that would be considered cheating. Anyway, Lu Jinming couldn't see the test paper, so Xiao Chen didn't need to cheat on it. In the blink of an eye, 2 hours had passed. After Xiao Chen handed in the test paper, Lu Jinming ran to him quickly, as if he was afraid that Xiao Chen would run away. "Xiao Chen, let's go. Are we going to have a big meal?" When Xiao Chen was about to say something, he saw a woman with big breasts appear in front of Lu Jinming at an extremely fast speed. "A big meal? Big meal? Where are we going to have a big meal? I want to have a big meal too." Well, Lu Jinming was a bit speechless. Looking at Jean Bebe, who was rushing to him, and her big breasts, he didn't feel any visual pleasure at all. He only felt upset. Did this girl have clairvoyant ears? How could she hear a big meal from so far away? However, when Lu Jinming saw Cheng Minjing behind Jean Bebe, his eyes lit up. "Bebe, they didn't invite you. Why are you meddling?" Let's go and have a roast duck with me. I'm told that the cafeteria of our school has invited a roast duck chef from Yanjin. The roast duck is very authentic. Cheng Minjing stopped Jean Bebe and said to her, Minjing, why didn't I invite you? After I finished talking to Xiao Chen, I was just about to invite you. You and Jean Bebe can come too. I've booked a table in the Blue Sea Palace, the best hotel in the city. The authentic Yanjin roast duck is served there too. It's much more authentic than the ones in our school cafeteria. The ducks there are specially raised. I'm told that the fruit charcoal in the oven was flown in too. After the roast duck is roasted, it will be brown, tender on the inside, and delicious. Lu Zhiming said in a hurry. That's great. Cousin Minjing, I want to eat it. Jean Bebe was drooling and her eyes were almost popping out as if Lu Zhiming were a giant roast duck. Alright then. I'll try my best to have a try. Cheng Minjing was actually quite interested in why Lu Zhiming had invited Xiao Chen, but she did not have any reason to ask. Now it was a good opportunity for her to follow them and take a look. Lu Zhiming felt creeped out by Jean Bebe's stare. Was the girl up to something again? He said in a hurry, then let's go. I'll lead the way. Xiao Chen and Tang Tang followed him. Cheng Minjing and Jean Bebe stayed further away from Xiao Chen, perhaps because they did not want to expose their relationship in front of outsiders. They did not know that Lu Zhiming had already learned Xiao Chen's identity. But even if he did, so what? It was even more important for Cheng Minjing to avoid arousing suspicion. The five of them came to the parking lot of the school together. Yu Xiaochuan was already waiting next to an Audi A8L. Seeing Xiao Chen and Tang Tang walking over, Yu Xiaochuan put on a sunny smile, looking harmless and amiable. He extended his hand to Xiao Chen and said, Xiao Chen, I've heard a lot about you. I'll be reassured if you take care of Tang Tang in the future. Xiao Chen and Tang Tang were not very surprised. After all, they had learned about it before, but Cheng Minjing and Jean Bebe were quite shocked. How did Yu Xiaochuan know about it? However, Cheng Minjing was not stupid either. She immediately connected it to Tang Tang. She had also heard that Yu Xiaochuan wanted to get rid of Tang Tang. So, since Xiao Chen and Tang Tang were very close, it would be as easy as pie for Yu Xiaochuan to investigate Xiao Chen. What an idiot. Cheng Minjing cursed in her heart. Can't you behave yourself? You've fallen into a woman's trap, haven't you? If you're not so close to Tang Tang, will Yu Xiaochuan pay attention to you? Seeing Cheng Minjing's astonishment, Lu Zhiming hurriedly explained, Minjing, I didn't mean to investigate Xiao Chen's identity. It's really for a reason. You know, although young Master Kun and Tang Tang have broken off their engagement, they used to be friends. Young Master Kun also hopes that Tang Tang will be happy in the future. So, it's reasonable for him to investigate Xiao Chen's identity. Of course, I also know that you don't want others to know that Xiao Chen is your ex-fiancé. Don't worry, it's only limited to me and young Master Kun. It won't be made public in the class. That's better. Cheng Minjing nodded proudly. I don't want to be noticed. Chapter 78. Of course. Minjing, don't worry. Lu Zhiming did not know that Cheng Minjing was afraid that Xiao Chen would be noticed by others. He thought that Cheng Minjing hated Xiao Chen. However, he could not figure out why Cheng Minjing was in the same class with Xiao Chen since she hated Xiao Chen. However, it must be the arrangement of the Cheng family. Lu Zhiming could not figure it out, nor did he dare to ask casually. His relationship with Cheng Minjing was not that good, so he could only observe in secret. Xiao Chen, Tang Tang, why don't you take my car? Miss Cheng, Miss Jean, why don't you take Lu Zi's car? Yu Xiaochuan arranged the situation of these people like a superior. He liked the feeling of being in charge. His goal was to be a superior. I'm not used to taking other people's cars. After saying that, Cheng Minjing walked to Jean Bebe's Beetle. Lu Zi, don't drive. Take my car. Yu Xiaochuan said to Lu Zhiming with his face still as warm as a spring breeze. He didn't care about Cheng Minjing's attitude at all. In his eyes, Cheng Minjing wasn't someone he could rope in. No matter how beautiful a woman was, no matter how noble her status was, she would still be ridden by men. She wouldn't be of any help to his future plans. No problem, Mr. Xiaochuan. Lu Zhiming opened the door of the passenger seat of the A8L and sat in the passenger seat. Yu Xiaochuan did not get in the car until Xiao Chen and Tang Tang sat in the back seat. He started the car, while Jean Bebe's Beetle followed Lu Zhiming's car. Xiao Chen, you and I are at the same level. You should know Tang Tang's identity. Since you like her, I'm relieved. It's not easy for people at our level to find true love. Cherish it. Yu Xiaochuan reminded Xiao Chen earnestly like an elder. Mr. Yu, you don't have to worry about it. I understand what you mean. Xiao Qin didn't deny the relationship between him and Tang Tang because he wanted to save her face. If he said that he wasn't her boyfriend, Tang Tang would probably be very embarrassed at this moment, as if no one wanted her. That's good. I won't say more. Let's eat and drink well this noon. Lu Zi said that he would treat us, but I think I should treat you. Yu Xiaochuan had achieved his purpose, so he did not want to say anything to Xiao Qin. He had successfully gotten rid of Tang Tang as well as Lu Jinming, the young master of the Lu family, one of the 4 big and 5 small aristocratic families. Yu Xiaochuan was free in the future. The Azure Sea Palace was the largest, most luxurious and most expensive hotel in Songning City. Many successful people liked to entertain distinguished guests here, and the young masters of the 4 big and 5 small aristocratic families were also frequent guests here. After parking the car, they walked into the hotel together. The security guard at the door had sharp eyes. He remembered all the famous people in Songning City. When he saw the group in front of him, his heart suddenly tightened. Miss Cheng, Miss Jean, Xiao Qin, Mr. Kun, Mr. Lu and Miss Tang, welcome. The security guard knew all the people in front of him, but he was particular about the order in which he called them. He called them according to the order of the 4 big and 5 small aristocratic families. The Cheng family was the head of the 4 big and 5 small aristocratic families, and the Lu family was the last. However, the security guard also knew that Tang Tang had left the Tang family, so Tang Tang was put last. He did not know about Xiao Qin. Yu Xiaochuan raised his eyebrows. Obviously, he was a little unhappy with the security guard putting Xiao Qian's name in front of him. If it was in the past, he would have endured it. After all, the Xiao family was a little stronger than the Yu family, but now. Of course, he did not say anything. He just kept it in mind and planned to let the manager of the Diamond Account Department of the Azure Sea Palace inform about the Xiao family. I've booked it, Diamond number 1. Yu Xiaochuan glanced at the security guard and said faintly, "Okay, Mr. Kun, please." The security guard quickly made a pleased gesture. The Azure Sea Palace adopted a membership card system. That was to say, without a membership card, it was useless to come here to eat. You must show your membership card to enter the door, and the waiter or security guard would arrange the box according to the level of the membership card. Of course, people like Xiao Chen and his group wouldn't show their membership cards at all, because their faces were the membership cards, and it was a high-grade diamond card at that. This was also an important job that the security guards and waiters had to do to work here, to recognize the face. On the first floor of the Azure Sea Palace was the self-service area. Of course, these things were free. The guests who ate here could come down and take it at will. However, this was not a loss because who would come here to eat these free things for the guests who had a membership card? They would order a lot of famous dishes in the box, and the hotel had already earned back the money, not to mention the high membership fee every year. The Diamond number 1 box was the most luxurious box in the Diamond card. It was not something that could be entered with a Diamond card. There was also a minimum consumption here. Of course, the decoration of this box was also incomparably luxurious. The walls were hung with expensive calligraphy and paintings. There were works by famous contemporary masters, as well as antique calligraphy and paintings. On the display shelf on the side of the box, there were also many expensive antiques for the guests to admire. In short, the taste here was very elegant and luxurious. In other words, it was high-end, atmospheric, and high-grade. Under the guidance of the waiter, they entered the box. Chapter 79. It was Lu Jinming who fell to the ground. What does it have to do with Xiao Qin? Tang Tang had been paying close attention to Xiao Qin. Naturally, she knew what had happened. Hearing Qing Minjing's words, she naturally felt that it was unfair to Xiao Qin. Qing Minjing glanced at Tang Tang. She frowned and said in a low voice, "Do you think I don't know that? Do I need you to tell me? Since you care so much about Xiao Qin, why don't you pay the bill for him? It's obvious that they are trying to set him up. That manager is obviously one of them." How could Tang Tang have so much money? If she had more than 1 million, she wouldn't have to sell fried dough sticks in the morning. "Cousin Minjing, why don't I do it?" Jean Bebe chuckled. There was no telling what dirty trick she had come up with this time. Qing Minjing hesitated for a moment. Although Jean Bebe was definitely going to set Lu Jinming or Yu Xiaochuan up, it was best for her to step in at this moment. Therefore she nodded calmly. However, when Jean Bebe was about to step in, Xiao Qin bent down and picked up the broken bowl on the ground. Holding it in his hand, he glanced at Lu Jinming with a weird expression and said, "The bowl is not broken, is it? Isn't it good?" Is it necessary to make such a fuss? Uh, Lu Junming was smiling complacently. He was stunned when he heard Xiao Chen's words. He was just about to retort when he suddenly found that the bowl in Xiao Chen's hand was not broken at all. There was not even a crack on it. Yu Xiaochuan's eyes widened. He was speechless as he looked at the bowl in Xiao Chen's hand. Did I see it wrong? The bowl in Xiao Chen's hand was clearly intact. How could it be broken? The one who was most puzzled was Ma Xiaotian. Although she promised to cooperate with Yu Xiaochuan and Lu Junming's acting, in order to avoid arousing suspicion, she was quite far away from Xiao Chen. She didn't see clearly whether the bowl on the ground was broken or not. When she walked over, Xiao Chen had already picked it up. She wondered if Lu Junming was acting and didn't see clearly. Was he too anxious? Since it's not broken, that's good. Looks like this demon sect leader Zhang Naipeo is a tough one after all. Ma Xiaotian said with a laugh, knowing that she couldn't keep up the act today. That's impossible. It was obviously broken. Lu Junming finally had a chance to punish Xiao Chen. How could he let it go? He directly snatched the bowl from Xiao Chen's hand and placed it in front of his eyes to examine it. However, as soon as he looked at it, the bowl broke into two halves with a crack, and stopped in Lu Junming's palm just like that. Lu Junming was dumbfounded. Yu Xiaochuan was dumbfounded. Ma Xiaotian was also dumbfounded. What was going on? Qing Minjing was puzzled. Tang Tang was puzzled. Jin Beibei was thoughtful. What? Why is it broken? After 3 rounds of dinner, Jin Beibei suddenly found that the Yanjing roast duck had not been served yet. The roast duck seems to be in the buffet area on the first floor. You have to get it yourself. When Xiao Chen entered the door, he saw a stall selling Yanjing roast duck on the first floor. The perception of a cultivator was not ordinary. Xiao Chen just took a casual glance and remembered it. Okay. Cousin-in-law, please bring one up for me, Jin Beibei said while drooling. Can't you take it yourself? You let others do everything. What are your legs for? Tang Tang finally couldn't help but feel indignant for Xiao Chen. But my breasts are big. If I go down and come up again, my breasts will hurt, Jin Beibei said innocently. You. Tang Tang was rendered speechless by Jin Beibei. But she was thinking to herself, why is this girl so shameless? Doesn't she know that there are guys here? She only has breasts and breasts. Doesn't she know how to be shy? Cheng Menjing had intended to scold Jin Beibei, but she was a bit unhappy when she heard what Tang Tang said. Her princess syndrome was acting up again. Xiao Chen, I want to eat roast duck. Go and get it for me. After that, Cheng Minjing looked at Tang Tang provocatively. Now that our identities have been exposed, I don't believe that you don't know that Xiao Chen is my servant. You care about Xiao Chen, don't you? I'd like to see whether Xiao Chen listens to you or to me. Okay. Xiao Chen stood up without hesitation and walked out of the room. Watching Xiao Chen's back, Tang Tang felt complicated. After Xiao Chen left, she put down the bowl and chopsticks in her hands and looked at Jin Beibei and Cheng Menjing solemnly. Jin Beibei, the Cheng family has broken off the engagement with Xiao Chen. Please don't call him cousin-in-law anymore, okay? Since your cousin can't be with him, don't give him so many illusions, okay? Tang Tang couldn't stand it anymore. Although she knew that Xiao Chen liked Cheng Menjing, Xiao Chen was probably not even qualified to be a spare tire right now. Are you guys messing around with me? What's wrong with calling me cousin-in-law? I'm from the Jin family. I like to be my cousin-in-law's sister-in-law. What does that have to do with the Cheng family? Jin Beibei spat out a piece of crayfish skin and asked Tang Tang back in confusion. You. Tang Tang was at a loss for words. She found that she was at a disadvantage when she was arguing with Jin Beibei. No wonder those playboys were like mice that had run into a cat in front of Jin Beibei. This girl's logical thinking and jumpy thinking were very good. Beibei. Cheng Minjing stopped Jin Beibei and looked at Tang Tang. She said casually, Tang Tang, I know that you like Xiao Chen, but Xiao Chen is my servant right now. He is doing it voluntarily. Nobody is forcing him. Beibei likes to joke. If Xiao Chen takes it seriously, it's his own business. If you care about him so much, you'd better talk to him. Although what Cheng Minjing said sounded reasonable, Tang Tang could not help but feel that there was an intense smell of gunpowder in it. It was as if Xiao Chen was Cheng Minjing's personal property. However, she did not think that Cheng Minjing had any feelings for Xiao Chen. Therefore, in her heart, she regarded Cheng Minjing as a scheming bitch who liked to play with Xiao Chen's feelings for fun. However, Tang Tang also felt sorry for Xiao Chen's failure in her heart, who asked her to fall in love with Cheng Menjing. Xiao Chen and I are just brothers, Yu Xiaochuan said that, but Xiao Chen did not bother to defend himself. Tang Tang also felt that she was not qualified to scold Cheng Menjing. She could only remind her, in fact, Xiao Chen is a very good boy. If you don't like him, please let him go. Jean Beibei suddenly interjected, that's right. My cousin-in-law is very awesome. Beibei likes and admires him very much. Jean Beibei suddenly interjected. Tang Tang felt that it was impossible to communicate with them. This Jean Beibei must have been sent by Cheng Menjing to disgust her, wasn't she? Cheng Menjing looked at Tang Tang and was about to say something, but she did not say it in the end. It was not because she did not trust Tang Tang but because the walls had ears. If she revealed Xiao Chen's real purpose of becoming her servant, it would not be a good thing for both Xiao Chen and herself. Therefore, during the period when Xiao Chen was not back, Cheng Menjing and Tang Tang were both silent and did not look at each other. Jean Beibei, on the other hand, was enjoying the food without a care in the world. After a while, Xiao Chen carried the roast duck in. However, hardly had he entered the private room when Xiao Chen sensed coldness flooding out of the room. Although the three of them were safe and sound, Xiao Chen felt that the atmosphere was not right. Perhaps, it was the keen senses of the cultivators. Roast duck. Xiao Chen brought the roast duck that had been rolled into pancakes downstairs. He put one in front of each of them. Jean Beibei took a bite of the pancake. She chewed so hard that her lips were covered in oil. Yes. The roast duck is delicious. Why don't you eat it? Tang Tang discovered that Xiao Chen had only brought back 3 pancakes, but he did not have any himself. The roast duck is available at 11 p.m. Now that the time is over, I grabbed the last 3 pancakes for you. Xiao Chen shrugged unconcernedly. It's fine if I don't eat it. There are many other dishes. Cousin-in-law, eat mine. It's really delicious. Jean Beibei, however, handed the pancake that she had taken a bite of to Xiao Chen. I'm not eating it. Xiao Chen was too embarrassed to eat Jean Beibei's saliva in front of Tang Tang. It was fine if they were at home, but here Xiao Chen did not want Tang Tang to think that he was a pervert. Just eat it. Don't you like it? Okay. Alright then. Seeing that Xiao Chen did not want to eat it, Jean Beibei began to eat on her own. Tang Tang intended to give her pancake to Xiao Chen, but when she recalled that she claimed to be Xiao Chen's buddy, she was too embarrassed to do that. An Audi A8L drove to the southern suburb of Songning City, which was the residence of the Tang family, one of the most powerful families in Songning City. After parking the car in front of the Tang family's house, Yu Xiaochuan realized that he had come in a hurry. Tang Tang's grandfather, Tang Fangbai, was a utilitarian. Although the Yu family and the Tang family had reached a tacit understanding, it was the first time that he had publicly proposed to cancel the engagement. Yu Xiaochuan felt that he should take out some gifts to fool Tang Fangbai. However, he came in a hurry and did not have time to prepare anything. When he glanced at the back seat of the car, his eyes suddenly lit up. The broken bowl that Lu Jinming had bought reminded Yu Xiaochuan of something. He smiled and picked up the broken bowl carefully. Then he got out of the car and rummaged in the trunk for a long time. Finally, he found a delicate brocade box and put the broken bowl into it. This brocade box used to contain a ginseng from 2 years ago. Yu Xiaochuan used the ginseng to practice martial arts, so he threw the box in the car. Unexpectedly, it came in handy at this moment. Tang Fangbai liked to collect antiques, especially antiques related to martial artists. The bowl that had been used by the leader of the devil cult was just right for him. Of course, it did not mean that the antiques were worthless when they were broken. In fact, many antiques were already broken when they were unearthed or discovered, but it did not affect their value as a collection, because most of these things were unique, and there was only one of them whether they were broken or not. Before Tang Tang was 16, Yu Xiaochuan was a frequent visitor of the Tang family. Now he had not been here for almost 2 years. When the 2 guarding disciples of the Tang family saw Yu Xiaochuan, they could not help but be slightly stunned. Please have a look, Grandpa Tang. Yu Xiaochuan smiled coldly in his heart. Old man, I knew you were even more of a hypocrite than me. Oh, keep it. I'll look into it. I'll think about what you said. Tang Fangbai nodded and picked up the 2 broken pieces of the bowl. Then I won't disturb your rest anymore, Grandpa Tang. Goodbye. Yu Xiaochuan was a bit disappointed that he didn't get the answer he wanted, but since Tang Fangbai said that he would think about it, it meant that there was a chance. He just needed to work harder and he would be able to get it done. After Yu Xiaochuan left, Tang Fangbai couldn't wait to pick up the magnifying glass and examine the so-called bowl used by the head of the demon sect, Zhang Naipeo. At first, Tang Fangbai was very disdainful. After all, Zhang Naipeo was only a legend, but after a while, he suddenly exclaimed in surprise, and his expression became serious. "I'm so full, cousin-in-law. Do you think I have a big chest or a big belly?" Jean Bebe rubbed her round belly and wobbled out of Azure Sea Palace. She seemed to have lost her balance. Cough cough. Tang Tang was a bit unhappy after hearing that. "Jean Bebe, other people might be scared of you, but I'm not. Do you think that Xiao Qin is not an outsider and is really your cousin-in-law?" "Yes." Jean Bebe turned to look at Tang Tang and nodded solemnly. Tang Tang was stunned and didn't know what to say. Jean Bebe's answer made her feel helpless. She finally understood why so many people suffered losses in front of Jean Bebe. It was because they had been set up by her without knowing it. Looking at Jean Bebe's innocent face, Tang Tang really didn't know whether the girl was really stupid or just pretending to be cute. She could only shake her head. Qing Minjing, on the other hand, didn't know why, but when Jean Bebe said yes, for the first time she felt that Jean Bebe's nonsense was quite cool. Xiao Qin could only respond with a bitter smile. He blinked at Tang Tang, hinting that he was already used to Jean Bebe's jokes. Tang Tang was greatly relieved to see Xiao Qin's reaction. She was afraid that Xiao Qin would sink deeper and deeper, making it obvious that it was impossible for him and Qing Menjing. If she did not stop him from thinking, Tang Tang was truly worried that Xiao Qin would be depressed. The four of them walked to the parking lot with their own thoughts in mind, only to discover that Lu Jinming and Yu Xiaochuan were both gone, and Jean Bebe's beetle was the only one left in the parking lot. How were they going to sit there? The back seat of the beetle was big enough for two people, but it was rather difficult for Tang Tang to fit in with her body size. At this moment, Tang Tang was somewhat embarrassed. "You take the car. I'll walk back, okay?" "Wait." Although Qing Minjing did not like Tang Tang, she was not a bad person. The Azure Sea Palace was several kilometers away from her school. If she walked back, she would be late for the exam. Not only would she be tired, but she would also be late for the exam. It must be noted that there was only 1 hour to go before the exam in the afternoon. However, the current situation was that if Tang Tang was allowed to take the car, she could only sit in the front passenger's seat due to her body size. Then there was a problem. Who would squeeze into the back seat with Xiao Qin? The back seat was small in the first place and Xiao Qin was tall. It was inevitable that the two of them would have to sit next to each other. If Bebe drove, it would be Qing Minjing and Xiao Qin sitting together. Qing Minjing did not want to sit next to Xiao Qin at all. He did not like her, and it would be shameless for her to sit next to him. Therefore, after the words came out of Qing Minjing's mouth, there was nothing else. She did not know what to do. "I'll run back and let you take the car." Xiao Qin did not wait for Miss Su to speak and said. In his opinion, it was not a problem for him to run back in terms of physical strength and time. "No need. I'll call a taxi." Before Tang Tang finished, Xiao Qin waved his hand freely and ran out of the parking lot quickly. Looking at Xiao Qin's back, Qing Minjing suddenly felt a sense of loss for no reason. Where did this sense of loss come from? Qing Minjing did not know. Sitting in the back seat of the beetle, she suddenly recalled the scene when she slept sweetly on Xiao Qin's body that night. Her cheeks blushed as if she had put on blush. Cousin Minjing, what's wrong with your face? Did you drink too much?" Jean Bebe got in the car last. She accidentally saw Qing Minjing's red face in the back seat. She immediately found it odd. "That's not right. We didn't drink just now, did we?" "I know. We watched a movie last night. It says that a man who runs fast is very strong, and the longer he runs, the longer he can last. You must be thinking that my cousin-in-law will be awesome in the future." "Awesome. You should marry him." Qing Minjing glared at Jean Bebe. It was not a problem for her to joke at home, but now that Tang Tang was here, Qing Minjing felt embarrassed. "I'm thinking about it. The movie also says that girls with big breasts should be better at that." Jean Bebe was deep in thought. Jean Bebe's answer almost drove Qing Minjing crazy. She had only scolded Jean Bebe, but she did not expect that Jean Bebe would take it seriously. "You are watching porn at home?" Tang Tang, on the other hand, bulged her eyes. In her eyes, such questions would only be discussed in porn movies. "No. It's just level 3, Jean Bebe said casually. "You are so filthy. You are goddesses outside, but you are fujoshis at home. Don't lead Xiao Qin astray." Tang Tang frowned slightly. She really could not help it. When she thought about how Xiao Qin still regarded Qing Minjing as his goddess, she felt a little indignant for him. Cheng Minjing was more or less infuriated by Tang Tang. She did not want to watch it yesterday, but Jean Bebe tempted her to watch it. She did not expect that Jean Bebe would talk about it outside. So what? It means that our sexual orientation is normal. Some of us are not and prefer to be tomboys. Jean Bebe, however, sniffed. You. Tang Tang pointed at Jean Bebe and did not know what to say. She did not want to be a tomboy either. However, Tang Tang did not say anything else. She knew that Jean Bebe was an eccentric person and that she was certainly no match for her. Besides, it was impossible for Cheng Minjing to tell Xiao Chen about the level 3 movies at home. What should she say? It was as if she was speaking ill of him behind his back. She only hoped that Xiao Chen would know what kind of people they were. Seeing that Jean Bebe had won, Cheng Minjing was greatly relieved, but she was somewhat unhappy. What's wrong with me watching the level 3 movies? Tang Tang is really a busybody. I don't believe that you haven't watched them before. I am in my adolescence. It is perfectly normal for me to be curious. The beetle turned out of the parking lot of the Azure Sea Palace and saw Xiao Chen running against the scorching sun on the roadside. Suddenly, Cheng Minjing's heart skipped a beat. Was the guy really Xiao Chen? Was he the foppish playboy who pursued Kerlin and Xinjingxin? From the rearview mirror, Tang Tang saw that Cheng Minjing was staring out of the window in a trance. Confused, she turned her head and looked out of the window. However, Xiao Chen had been left behind by the car. What Tang Tang saw was a billboard of a popular TV series called Beast. She could not help but curse that Xiao Chen was infatuated with her. Chapter 82. Because of all the things that had happened, the atmosphere in the car was not very harmonious. Nobody talked anymore until the car was parked in the parking lot of the school. Tang Tang got out of the car and simply thanked the driver casually. Then she walked to the gate of the sports ground quickly. She was going to pick up Xiao Chen. Looking at Tang Tang's back, Cheng Minjing slightly frowned and snorted. Then she dragged Jean Bebe to the teaching building. Cousin Minjing, aren't we going to visit my cousin-in-law? Asked Jean Bebe. What for? He is physically strong. He won't die, said Cheng Minjing emotionlessly. At this moment, Lu Jinming and Skinny Monkey were sitting on the flower bed in front of the parking lot. Lu Jinming looked at Cheng Minjing's back as she left, and an infatuated look flashed in his eyes. Where's that idiot Xiao Chen? Jean Bebe's car is small and Tang Tang is fat. She can only sit in the front passenger seat. Cheng Minjing is sitting in the back seat. How can she squeeze Xiao Chen with her? He must have left her on the road, right? Skinny Monkey speculated. Yes. Lu Jinming was very satisfied. I guess Xiao Chen is too poor to pay for a taxi, right? Brother Ming, are we just going to let it go? You Xiao Chuan is not reliable, is he? Not only did we fail to teach Xiao Chen a lesson, we even lost more than $1 million. Skinny Monkey complained angrily. He was still holding a grudge about the feast in the canteen. He had thought that he would be able to enjoy a good meal, but Xiao Chen took all the food away himself. If it were before, Lu Jinming would certainly have stopped him if Skinny Monkey talked about Yu Xiaochuan in such a way. But today Lu Jinming had his own opinions too. Forget it. It's better to count on ourselves than on others. Xiao Chen is smart and skilled. Regular tricks won't be able to deal with him. He used to be a young master, not a bumpkin. We have to figure out a plan if we want to deal with him. Yes, he is a tough guy. I'm told that he was a useless young master in the past, but he is quite good at beating people up. He is still in the hospital right now. Skinny Monkey nodded. Brother Ming, I feel that if we want to deal with Xiao Chen, we have to be more ruthless. Normal people really aren't his match. Isn't the underground fighting arena controlled by our Lu family? We can let Xiao Chen fight in the underground boxing field. You mean let him die in the underground boxing field? Lu Jinming's eyes lit up after listening, but then he frowned. The key is how to fool him. This kid doesn't seem to be a fool. He won't go just because we ask him to. Brother Ming, isn't it simple? What does Xiao Chen lack the most? He lacks money. At that time, we will tell him that there is a large prize money in the underground boxing field. We are not afraid that he won't take the risk. As long as you win an underground boxing match, you will get 100,000 yuan prize. Steel Gate used to go there twice and won 200,000 yuan. Lu Jinming said vividly, Xiao Chen, I think you are not weak. Ma Steel Gate is not your opponent. If you are short of money, you can try it. Of course, if you are afraid of death, forget it. After all, fists and feet have no eyes. Underground black boxing ring? Xiao Chen's heart suddenly jumped. It was not because of the 100,000 yuan prize, but because a master at the peak of the third stage of inner strength, who came to kill Xiaoqin a few days ago, had something like a registration card in his pocket. On it were the words, "Number 3 Boxer, Vicious Wolf." At that time, Xiaoqin guessed that this person was a boxer or an underground black boxing boxer. Now, Lu Zhiming mentioned this underground black boxing ring. Was there any connection between them? Could it be that the number 3 boxer named Vicious Wolf was found by Lu Zhiming? Thinking about it carefully, this possibility was very big. The Lu family, where Lu Zhiming was from, was involved in the underworld. The underground black boxing ring also belonged to the scope of the gang operation. Thinking of this, Xiaoqin wanted to see it. He really wanted to know who had been targeting him behind his back. Yes, Xiaoqin, you also know what our family does. The boss of this place has some friendship with my family. If you want to go, I can take you to see it. If you think you can go up and fight. If you can't, there is no loss. Lu Zhiming said. Then let's go and see. Xiaoqin hesitated for a moment, and his face showed a trace of interest. Okay, let's take the exam first. After the exam tomorrow, I will take you there. Lu Zhiming also knew to stop while he was ahead. This kind of thing would be lost if he talked too much. He was already very excited when he successfully fooled Xiaoqin to fight in the underground boxing ring. In his opinion, he really had the talent of fooling people. Didn't Xiaoqin fall for it at once? Lu Zhiming left with the thin monkey-like man. Tang Tang was so angry that she stamped her feet next to Xiaoqin. Well, Xiaoqin, you've become capable, haven't you? Underground boxing, you even dare to fight. Don't you want to die? What? Do you feel that selling breakfast is not enough and you feel wronged? Oh, I saw that he was beaming with joy and was quite funny, so I just played along with him. Xiaoqin shrugged. Haha, I thought you were greedy for the 100,000 yuan. Tang Tang breathed a sigh of relief. You don't look like a fool who is looking for death. Lu Zhiming felt that he had successfully fooled Xiaoqin, and he walked with some elation. Brother Ming, I feel that your acting just now can win an Oscar. It's so successful that Xiaoqin the idiot fell for it at once. The thin monkey-like man said flatteringly. You also said that he is an idiot who only sees money. He is short of money now. Let's seize this point and play him to death. Lu Zhiming also felt that he was very smart. He found that without Yu Xiaoquan's help, he was also very good. That's right. Even if Xiaoqin was the former Xiaoqin, he was also a playboy with no IQ. If it were Brother Ming with such a beautiful fiancée, he would have already won her heart. The thin monkey-like man said with deep thought. Maybe there is something wrong with this kid's taste. Maybe he likes Tang Tang? After Lu Zhiming said that, he laughed first. Young master is from Silk Fate. By the way, Brother Ming, I have already talked to Teacher Lei about this exam. He will help you pass the answers. You should be able to deal with a good result. The thin monkey-like man said. Oh. Lu Zhiming's eyes lit up. That's great. If I can pass all the exams, my dad will be happy. Maybe he will reward me with a few million yuan. Lu Siwen always hoped that Lu Zhiming would become a cultured person. As the saying goes, a gangster is not terrible, but a cultured gangster is terrible. Lu Siwen, who mingled in the underworld, believed in this more. He pinned all his hopes on Lu Zhiming. However, Lu Zhiming disappointed him again and again. This kid was not the material to study at all. I guess Xiaoqin will be the last in our class this time. At that time, no matter what Brother Lu says, it will be impossible for him to be the last. The thin monkey-like man thought of Xiaoqin and laughed sarcastically. If you didn't mention it, I wouldn't have thought of it. Will this kid copy Tang Tang during the exam? Lu Zhiming thought of himself and Xiaoqin. Xiaoqin was not Xiaoqin now. If this kid was the last in the exam, he would probably be expelled from the school. Therefore, if Xiaoqin wanted to turn the situation around, he must copy Tang Tang. Brother Ming, you mean we should report Xiaoqin to the teacher for plagiarism? The thin monkey-like man suddenly thought of something. We can hold back. I'm afraid that Xiaoqin won't dare to fight tomorrow. So, our plan will be in vain. We can make trouble for him in the school first. Lu Zhiming thought of Xiaoqin using Director Su to pressure him in the cafeteria. Since you used the school rules to mess with me, then I will give you a taste of your own medicine. But we need evidence. We must hit the nail on the head. We can't give him room to argue. Chapter 83. I have a good idea. We can ask Mr. Lei to send a copy to Xiaoqin when he sends a message. Then we can report him for looking at his phone during the exam. When the teacher sees the answer on his phone, he will think that there is yellow mud in his pants. Even if it is not sh*t, it is sh*t. As the first strategist of Lu Jinming, Skinny Monkey was smart. He quickly thought of a way to punish Xiao Qin. That's a good idea. You can report him. I can't show up. I'm still pretending to be friends with Xiao Qin. Lu Jinming thought for a moment and said, Okay, Brother Ming. Skinny Monkey nodded. The test in the afternoon was English. Xiao Qin wasn't very good at it in the past, but this subject required him to memorize a lot of things. Xiao Qin memorized it for a few days. When the test papers were handed out, Xiao Qin started writing at a very fast speed. Although Xiao Qin wasn't interested in the $10,000 scholarship for the time being, if he did badly in the test, he could easily be expelled, right? He had no background now, so he had to think about things more thoroughly. Half of the exam was over, and there was about half an hour left. Bang! A fart sounded. Under the surprised gaze of the whole class, Skinny Monkey covered his stomach and ran to the toilet. The students sitting around him all covered their noses. Lu Jinming, who was sitting behind Skinny Monkey, almost vomited because of the fart. At first he did not think much about it. But after waiting for more than 10 minutes, Skinny Monkey still did not come back. Lu Jinming was a little anxious. They had made an appointment to report Xiao Qin 20 minutes before the end of the exam. In this way they could ensure that Xiao Qin copied almost all of Tang Tang's answers, which made Xiao Qin fall from the clouds with great expectation. This kind of feeling must make Xiao Qin want to die. However, Skinny Monkey did not come back after he went to the toilet. Lu Jinming was so anxious that he often looked outside the door, but he could not see Skinny Monkey. He stretched his neck so hard that it almost fell off. Lu Jinming, what are you doing? Why are you looking around instead of focusing on your exam? At this moment, Director Su of the Office of Academic Affairs, as the main invigilator, was going from classroom to classroom. As soon as he entered grade 12 class 1's classroom, he saw Lu Jinming looking around. For Director Su, Lu Jinming was still quite afraid. As long as this guy called his father, he would be beaten up when he got home. Lu Jinming quickly said, No, nothing. I finished writing. I was just looking around. Just take a look. Are you trying to plagiarize? Director Su glared at Lu Jinming. How could that be possible? But I just saw Xiao Qin playing with his phone. When Lu Jinming saw Director Su, he remembered the humiliating history in the cafeteria. Because he was anxious, Skinny Monkey did not show up yet. He was so excited that he reported Xiao Qin. Ching Menjing frowned. She knew Xiao Qin's academic performance. He was the last one every year in number 1 middle school. It was impossible for him to have a good result after he transferred to number 2 middle school. Did he really cheat? Tang Tang was shocked. Number 2 middle school's rules were very strict. If someone cheated in the exam, he would be given a big demerit. If he did it 3 times, he would be expelled. Xiao Qin had just transferred here a few days ago, and he would be given a big demerit? Xiao Qin, are you playing with your phone? Director Su knew that Xiao Qin was Qing Zhongming's friend, and he just got the investment from the Qing family. In the next school board meeting, he was likely to be appointed as the vice principal. At this time, he naturally did not want to offend Xiao Qin too much. Although Xiao Qin was Qing Menjing's follower, he still had to look at the dog's owner before he hit the dog. Playing with my phone? Xiao Qin was a little puzzled. Was there something wrong with Lu Jinming? Sometimes it was good and sometimes it was bad. How could he falsely accuse me of cheating in the exam? But Xiao Qin did not play with his phone at all, so he was not afraid of what Lu Jinming said. Director Su, I did not play with my phone. I have been answering questions. Although Lu Jinming regretted his impulsiveness, he could not back down at this time. He could only bite the bullet and said, reporting to Director Su, Xiao Qin just played with his phone there. Director Su frowned. Under the watchful eyes of the public, it was not good to be partial to Xiao Qin. He could only say, Xiao Qin, take out your phone and let me have a look. Okay, no problem. Xiao Qin did not care. He took out his phone directly from his pocket and handed it to Director Su. Director Su took Xiao Qin's mobile phone, looked through the call records and text messages, and then put it back on Xiao Qin's table. Lu Jinming, there is nothing in Xiao Qin's phone. Even if he played with his phone, he would look at the time, right? Impossible. Lu Jinming was looking at Director Su expectantly. In his opinion, as long as Director Su saw the text messages, Xiao Qin would be dead. However, the scene he hoped for did not happen. He was anxious all of a sudden. He rushed over, picked up Xiao Qin's mobile phone and looked through the text messages. And seeing that there were no new messages in Xiao Qin's mobile phone, Lu Jinming was dumbfounded. He was a little crazy. Impossible, there must be. Why is there no new messages? It was no wonder that Lu Jinming was crazy. Xiao Qin's mobile phone did not turn to offline mode, and he had been looking at Xiao Chen from the corner of his eyes during the exam, but he did not see Xiao Chen take out his mobile phone to delete the messages. With his identity and background, even if there were 100 major demerits, the school wouldn't expel him. However, the key problem was that if his father, Lu Siwen, knew about it, then he would be miserable. If he really got a demerit because of fighting, then forget it. The Lu family was in the underworld. Fighting was common, so Lu Siwen wouldn't care. What Lu Siwen cared about was Lu Jinming's academic results. Cheating in the exam was enough for Lu Jinming to be covered in bruises and bruises. It can't be. I asked Teacher Lei to send him a text message. The skinny monkey was a little puzzled. Teacher Lei couldn't have forgotten. I'm also puzzled. Teacher Lei is quite reliable. Could it be that Xiao Chen's phone is in arrears? Lu Jinming was very puzzled. At this time, Xiao Chen walked over with a smile and sat directly next to Lu Jinming. This seat used to belong to Ma Gangmen. This kid was hospitalized these few days, so it was empty. Young Master Lu, did you send me the answers on my phone? Xiao Chen waved his phone and showed the text message to Lu Jinming. He had dodged a bullet before. When he woke up in the morning because he was looking for the dog, his SIM card was new. He kept it in his phone and forgot to change it. After the exam just now, he felt that something was wrong, so he changed his SIM card. Not long after he changed it, Xiao Chen's phone received a text message. It was the answers to the previous English exam. Xiao Chen glanced at it roughly. The correct rate wasn't low. It was at least 80% correct. Lu Jinming was dumbfounded. He stared at Xiao Chen's phone screen. Wasn't this the previous English answer? And the sender was Lei Dianfeng's sock puppet phone number. Lu Jinming knew this phone number, but why did Xiao Chen only receive it now? Could it be that the signal was delayed? Thinking about it, this was the only possibility. Lu Jinming had an urge to cry. He didn't succeed in reporting Xiao Chen. Instead, he got himself into trouble. The most annoying thing was that the little friendship that he had just established with Xiao Chen was destroyed just like that? No, absolutely not. He still wanted to let Xiao Chen go to the underground boxing arena to fight. He couldn't fall out with him. Thinking of this, Lu Jinming looked at Xiao Chen with a blank face. That Xiao Chen, what are you talking about? I have a split personality. Did I send you the answer just now? I don't remember. I don't remember anything. Skinny Monkey knows that sometimes I'm like this. I don't know what I did before. It's like I'm possessed by a ghost. Chapter 84. Yes. The thin monkey-like nodded quickly. He guessed that Lu Jinming wanted to shirk the responsibility. Really? You promised to give me 100,000 yuan. Xiao Chen said. Oh, is that true? Lu Jinming was stunned. He didn't expect that Xiao Chen would take advantage of him. But he couldn't say that he didn't say it. He just said that he didn't know that he was possessed. If he refused now, wouldn't he be exposed? Thinking of this, Lu Jinming turned to look at the thin monkey-like. I had diarrhea before. I don't know. The thin monkey-like didn't know whether he should say yes or no. Mr. Lu, are you trying to renege on the debt? That's why you pretended to be possessed to deceive me? Xiao Chen suddenly shook his head with disappointment and said, Forget it. You are not trustworthy. I won't play with you anymore. Don't come to me after the exam tomorrow. Hey, don't. Lu Jinming was shocked. If he didn't come to him after school tomorrow, didn't it mean that he wouldn't go to the underground boxing? Wouldn't the previous arrangements be invalid? Lu Jinming had no choice but to bite his teeth and said, Okay, 100,000 yuan. But I don't have it now. Can you wait for a few days? Next month, my dad will give me pocket money and I will give it to you. That's more like it. I will continue to play with you tomorrow. Xiao Chen nodded and turned to leave. *CK. Lu Jinming looked at Xiao Chen's back. He was so angry that he gnashed his teeth and glared at the thin monkey-like. See, this is all your fault. If you eat stinky tofu again, I will throw you into the cesspool. Don't come out. Xiao Chen returned to his seat. At this time, Jing Xiaoquan was talking with Tang Tang. When he saw Xiao Chen, he asked, Why did Lu Jinming come to you just now? I didn't expect that he could use such a low-level trick. He framed you for cheating? Doesn't he know you're a straight-A student? *CK. He denied it again. He said that he was schizophrenic and didn't know what happened. This person is sick. Let's not care about him. Xiao Chen shook his head. Of course, he did not believe that Lu Jinming was sick. However, compared to exposing him, 100,000 yuan was still more important. Jing Xiaoquan was stunned. How could he say that? The future of the Liu family was hopeless. By the way, I just told Tang Tang that we're going to the bookstore to buy some review materials after school. Are you coming? I'm not going. Right now, Xiaoqin wanted to hurry to the pharmacy to buy some medicine and set foot on a higher level of strength as soon as possible. That's fine. We can lend it to you after we buy it. Anyway, it's close by. Jing Xiaoquan nodded his head. Tang Tang looked at Xiaoqin helplessly and pointed at Qing Menjing. Obviously, she misunderstood that Xiaoqin wanted to go home with his goddess. Xiaoqin did not know what to say. He simply picked up his backpack and left the classroom. However, before he walked far away, Xiaoqian's phone rang. He took it out and saw that it was from Jean Bebe. Cousin-in-law, Cousin Minjing asked if you would like to take a ride with us. Only Jean Bebe could send such a messy message. One moment she was cousin-in-law, the next moment she was Cousin Minjing. In fact, the two of them were not related at all. No thanks. I'm going to buy some medicine. You can go back now. Xiaoqin replied and then deleted the message. The fewer people who knew the relationship between him and Qing Menjing, the better. Xiaoqin ran forward. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw that Jean Bebe's red beetle passed by him. It seemed to have slowed down for a moment before it disappeared at the corner of the street. Hong Yan was obviously surprised that Xiaoqin came to the pharmacy so early that day. She stared at Xiaoqin with blinking eyes. Are you here to buy medicine? May I greet you, Grandpa? Okay, thank you. Xiaoqin moved his eyes away from Hong Yan and nodded with a smile. Every time he came to the pharmacy, it was always a pleasant thing to see Hong Yan. She was a girl of classical beauty. She was the opposite of the modern atmosphere of the metropolis, but she did not seem out of place. Instead, she was like a hint of tranquility in a noisy corner. Hong Yan put down the book in her hands and went to the back of the pharmacy to greet someone. However, Xiaoqian's eyes fell on the book that Hong Yan was reading just now. Almanac of Medicine? The name made Xiaoqin slightly dazed. What kind of book was that? Xiaoqin had heard about the famous medical classics before, such as Compendium of Materia Medica and Inner Canon of the Yellow Emperor, but he had never heard of this Almanac of Medicine. The editor was Lin Dongfang? Who was Lin Dongfang? Was he an expert in medicine? Xiaoqin was puzzled. Hong Yan had already walked over with old Qin. Hong Yan saw Xiaoqin peeping at her book. She frowned slightly. It's not good to peep at other people's things. I'm just curious. You're a girl. Why do you read books every day? I thought it was a romance novel. Xiaoqin smiled awkwardly. What is a romance novel? This time it was Hong Yan's turn to be slightly dazed. Romance novel? Xiaoqin did not know how to explain. Did this classical girl really not know, or was she deliberately teasing him? However, looking at her innocent and curious big eyes, there did not seem to be any lies. Did she really not know? It is a storybook that describes the love between men and women. You are talking about... Jean Ping Mei? Hong Yan's face, which did not have any makeup on, suddenly turned red. She stared at Xiaoqin as if Xiaoqin was a lecher. Xiaoqin slapped his forehead. Jean Ping Mei was a romance novel? Alright, it could be considered an ancient romance, but this was not what he was talking about. Alright, Yan Yan, go read your book. I will get the medicine for him. Grandpa Chen looked at Hong Yan and said with a smile, but he did not explain. The environment that Hong Yan grew up in did not have any romance novels at all. In the Sutra Depository, there were only some ancient books on cultivation and medicine. As for classical classics, there were also some, and Jean Ping Mei was one of them. Hong Yan was not sensible when she was young, and thought that the ancient books on medicine were boring, so she secretly looked for some storybooks to read. Just like that, she casually found a book called Jean Ping Mei. Thus, Jean Ping Mei became little Hong Yan's first young girl teacher. However, Hong Yan did not have the courage to finish reading it. Every time she read it, she felt like her body was burning. There was an indescribable feeling. Was it comfortable or uncomfortable? Anyway, after a long time, her whole body felt like it was being electrocuted. Sometimes she would even lose control, which made her feel ashamed. It was as if she had done something evil. Hence she stopped reading it. As she grew older and understood some things, she was even more embarrassed to read it. This matter was a secret hidden in Hong Yan's heart. No one knew about it. But today, when Xiaoqin suddenly mentioned it, Hong Yan subconsciously thought that Xiaoqin was talking about Jean Ping Mei. This feeling of being seen through made Hong Yan's heart beat rapidly. In Hong Yan's mind, did Xiaoqin read it too? Did he deliberately say it to tempt her? Originally, Hong Yan had a good impression of Xiaoqin. But now, she instantly classified Xiaoqin as a lecher. Xiaoqin was wronged. When Hong Yin left, she did not forget to glare at Xiao Qin. She was a classical beauty. Even if she glared at someone, it was still charming. However, Xiao Qin was a little puzzled. How did he provoke this classical beauty? Old sir, here is 120,000. Xiao Qin put the 120,000 that he earned from the rich woman on the counter. Please help me get the medicine. You have collected it so quickly? Young man, are you pretending to be poor in front of me? Old Qin looked at the money on the counter and was a little surprised. Of course he was just joking. Through observation he could see that Xiao Qin was really short of money. How could it be? Xiao Qin was a little embarrassed. I helped someone this morning and earned it. Old Qin nodded and did not ask much. He took the money and quickly helped Xiao Qin to get the medicine. Finally he gave a bag of medicine to Xiao Qin. Thank you. Xiao Qin nodded. This medicine was 120,000, but it was actually the price after a discount. Xiao Qin was very grateful to the old man. The next medicine will cost 200,000. This is also the lowest price. Old Qin looked at Xiao Qin and said, although I am the person in charge of this pharmacy, I am not the boss. I can't do too many unprofitable business. I understand. You have taken care of me. I will find a way. Xiao Qin was not surprised at all, but the price of 200,000 still made him smack his tongue. This was an astronomical figure for him now. Old Qin did not say anything more. Xiao Qin left the pharmacy and walked home quickly. Qing Minjing and Jin Beibei were playing this new sports game in the living room. As soon as Xiao Qin entered the door, he saw the shocking boobs shaking, which was even more real than DOA. Jin Beibei is really sexy. Xiao Qin thought, if I really married Qing Minjing, would Jin Beibei be my dowry? That sounds good. I can shake them when I have nothing to do. Must be very cool. It was not rare for the ancient warrior families to have a dowry when the older female cousin got married. They kept the ancient traditions and customs, so it was very normal to have a dowry. Of course, the dowry was only limited to the weaker families. Jin Beibei, who was originally the eldest daughter of the Jin family, did not need a dowry at all. What are you looking at? Your eyeballs are almost popping out. It is beautiful, isn't it? Seeing Xiao Qin's dazed look, Qing Minjing immediately felt uncomfortable. Am I so unattractive? You looked at Xin Jingxian in number 1 middle school, Tang Tang in number 2 middle school, and Jin Beibei when you are home. What are you doing? Oh, it's okay. Xiao Qin did not know how to answer. If he said it was beautiful, the eldest daughter would definitely scold him. If he said it was not, Jin Beibei would be unhappy. So, he had to compromise. Are you looking at me? Jin Beibei, however, held her chest with her hands. Blushing, she asked excitedly, Cousin-in-law, am I prettier than my cousin? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.